Testing, testing. No, it is Columbus Day, okay? Christopher Columbus, aka Cristofo Colombo. Sorry about that echo. Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5 Qapla. It is Monday, October 14th, 2019. Garfield's least favorite day. But today is Columbus Day, Garfield's not least favorite Monday, because Columbus was Italian and Garfield loves lasagna. It all makes sense, people. It all makes sense. I hope you can hear me. Qapla. Yes, everybody, please remember to switch to live chat. Live chat would help. Live chat would help. Okay, let's see what we've got going on. Yosef was here early, and unfortunately his first comment is gone. But then he posted, "Let's celebrate someone who does not deserve to be celebrated. Feel free to rant about my comment." Oh, I will, Yosef, but not just yet. Actor says, "My nephew is now taught to hate the conquest. It only took 500 plus years for his fame to wane and the establishment of normies." Ha ha. You gotta teach him the truth, Actor. Azine says, "Hello there. Welcome, Azine. Welcome, fellow Karogans. It is a great day to be a Karogan." Shronmore says, "Greetings, Birdo Prey 5, Mamo Prey 5, and fellow nerds." Thank you, Shronmore. And I'm sure Mamo Prey is thanking you too. Josh Street says, "Bird calling it Columbus Day can get you in trouble." Well, then I will be in trouble. Shronmore says, "And greetings to Sassy, chaser of cats, eater of cookies, stalker of cardinals, defiler of cushions, and scourge of the squirrels." Very cool. Sassy as Columbus was discoverer of America, sailor of the seas, defiler of the natives, and scourge of the turkeys. Sure, that works. That was a lot better than what I was going for. Shronmore says, "Remember to switch to live chat." Actor corrected me. Cristoforo is Christopher in Italian. If you're going by his Italian name, I was Actor. Josh Streets is "Down with Birdo Prey. All hail Sassy and Mamo Prey 5, the true rulers of Karoga, aka New Jersey." No, even Mamo Prey would take offense to calling Karoga New Jersey. Yes, she's confirmed. Like it or not, Karoga is really New York. John DeMarco says, "Hi everyone, welcome John DeMarco. Live with Matthew says, Qapla, Birdo Prey, and all. How's it going?" Not too bad, all things considered. Not dying in pain from a operation, so can't complain. Derek McManus says, "Hello there, Birdo Prey." Hello to the chat. Hello, Derek. Josh Street says, "Bird, I see your mouth moving." Oh wait, I forgot to unmute. See, you got me concerned. Right? Yes, microphone is on. Shronmore says, "Columbus Day, the day the Europeans visited the neighbors for the first time." Yeah, that's valid. That's valid. Actor says, "And gifting them STD way before CBS." Actually, no. That's not really true. Anyway, we'll get to that. Not Ryan Johnson says, "Happy Alpaca Day." No. Today's not Alpaca Day. Today is Columbus Day. Alpaca Day can be tomorrow. Cronus is Qapla, Bird, Mamo Prey, Minions O Prey, Sassy O Prey. What did I miss? Just the very opening remarks, Kronos. And Not Ryan Johnson says, "Hello and Qapla." Hello and Qapla. What, Mamo Prey?
Tell everyone I said hello, but I'm going to read.
Mamo Prey says hello, but she's going to read her Kindle. And she does not have a tale for today, so we'll do a tale later. Mike Richards says, greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Greetings, Mike Richards. John Street says, Columbus Day. The Europeans went on a Caribbean vacation, but the second time they visited the New World. Joseph says, Bird of Prey, you left Lore. Rude. Yeah, I left Lore. I told Lore I love his stuff, but if I wanted to watch a Kaltwatsky video, I'd watch it on his own damn channel. I have no interest in watching Kaltwatsky or him sticking up for CBS and trying to make the Anas lawsuit look like bullcrap. Here's the thing, Kaltwatsky. Would CBS sue Anas if they came out with the idea first and then he used the idea in his game? You're goddamn right they would. They're suing people all over the place anyway. So I do not feel bad. And I gave some money, even though money I don't have. I gave some money to the Anas lawsuit fund, GoFundMe. I hope whether he wins or not, I hope he sticks it to CBS. I hope his lawyers stick it to CBS, and whatever they can do to fight for the independent creators that CBS has screwed over for the last few years now, and are screwing over every goddamn day on YouTube, like Anti-Trekker, like me, and everybody else who tries to upload something containing a small clip from CBS, even if we are 100% in the legal right and we are using it well within the doctrines of fair use, they still block it, which is illegal. But none of us have the money to go after CBS and fight, and on any one case, it would be ridiculous. It wouldn't be worth it. Even if we were to start a GoFundMe, you'd be an idiot to donate to that GoFundMe. It would be a bad use of funds. So I give it to Anas because he has the best chance against them, and Kaltwatsky can go somewhere, take a long walk off a short pier, as they say. He wants to defend CBS. Yeah. Anyway. Nicole Malo says he was looking for America and ran into the West Indies. Lol. He was looking for India and he ran into the West Indies. John Araki with the $1 super chat. Thank you so much, John Araki. The cutest of Borg. Not quite kissing Dax, but not too bad. Josh Street says, Bird, if we look outside your window, we would see Robot Hell. That is in New Jersey. I've shown you outside my window on the cameras, and it is not Robot Hell. Derek McManus says, CBS shills should hang their heads in shame indeed. John DeMarco says, engage Bird rant. That was a pre-rant. Derek McManus heads there to Kronos. Mike Richards says, Bird of Prey. If Gene Roddenberry is the great bird of the galaxy, are you the great bird of the internet? Sure, I'll take that. I'll take that title. John Araki, I stand with Bird. I stand with the alpacas. Thank you, John Araki. Chrono says, is asking how Derek is. Yosef says, and that's how rumors get started. Kalwatsky never said he wants to protect CBS. I, however, understand your point. Well, in the 5 minutes of the video I saw, he was sticking up for CBS, saying that they had valid points, that Nas, he kind of insulted, he didn't flat out insult. He did like a backdoor insult of like Nerdrotic and the people running the GoFundMe. And he presented information. I don't know if any of it is correct. But even if it is, Anas still came up with the idea for big blue tardigrades going instantaneously through time and space. And the crew, characters that look like the crew of this Discovery before CBS. Now he wants to say, well, that CBS released it. That means that they probably already worked on it. So even though CBS didn't release it, maybe they had already designed it. I don't care, okay? I don't care. If it was the other way around, would CBS be suing Anas? You damn well. You bet they would be. So that's all that matters to me. Darth Raven says, Happy Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day to you, Darth Raven. Derek says, people have been visiting America for years. Christopher Columbus just had good publicity machine. Absolutely, Derek. I agree. Columbus was not the first person to discover America. The Vikings were here. Possibly the Chinese were here. And possibly other Europeans were here before Columbus. So what? It doesn't matter. Columbus was the one that brought the discovery and made it public. Okay? He was the one who saw the potential in the New World. And that's what matters. That's why he is the hero. It's not because he was first. It doesn't matter if you were first. Who knows who the first person to invent the telephone was? Okay? You know, Joe Smith could have invented a telephone 50 years before Alexander Graham Bell. But if Joe Smith only used the telephone to call down to his pig farm and sing to his pigs at night, and then died with him because he didn't tell anybody about it, tough crap, Joe Smith. You're not the inventor of the telephone. Alexander Graham Bell is, because he saw the potential and made it public, got it patented, got it shipped out, made it, sent it to stores, had wires put up all around the goddamn country. It's the vision that counts, not necessarily being first. Being first and having the vision is best. But if it's first versus vision, vision wins every time. So Christopher Columbus was the one with the vision. He was the one that saw the potential. He was the one who publicized it, who got kings and queens to send, dozens, hundreds of ships. Okay? They were going in. They were taking over. He's the one that started that. Leif Erikson didn't do squat with it. What did they make? One colony maybe, and they died off? Doesn't matter. You don't get acknowledgement for that. Doesn't mean anything. And don't give me shit about Columbus brought disease. You know what? They were gonna die anyway. Okay? Eventually, either some other European was gonna sail to the New World, or some of the Native Americans were going to sail to Europe. One way or another it would have happened, and the day that happened, it was all over because the Native Americans had no resistance to European disease. There is zero blame on Christopher Columbus because the natives got sick. That wasn't his fault. They didn't have any idea how disease transmission worked. They didn't know. They had no idea that simply by coming to land and talking to people and shaking hands and touching them or sharing food or just breathing the same air would possibly transmit diseases that these people had no immunity to. And you know what? They brought diseases back to Europe too. It wasn't only the diseases went one way, except Europeans, they didn't really get deadly diseases. They just got annoying diseases. But it wasn't one way. Also, tobacco. Right? The natives sent tobacco. Do we blame the natives for getting all of Europe hooked on cigarettes? No. Because they didn't know that it was bad for you at the time. That's as stupid as blaming Columbus for getting people sick. They wanted it, they sent it, and people smoked it. They didn't know there was anything bad there. It's ridiculous. Where are we? Where are we? Joseph, Patrick. Joseph Patrick says, Shronmore, so we meet again. Kronos says, Darth is in the house. Yes, it's been a while since Darth has been here. Welcome again, Darth. Kennewick Sapien says, Bird, have you talked about the latest short trek yet? The Trouble with Edward? Oh, yes. I've talked. I've done videos. There's a video out there with an epic rant, as it's been called. You should check it out. Derek McManus says, I'm good, Kronos. Thank you. Hope you are too. In short, Kennewick, I hated them both. And they continue to be the worst of the worst Trek ever produced. Rambling Canuck says, hello, Bird. And all. Also remember, it's Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada. Happy Thanksgiving weekend, Canadians. Qapla. We forgive you for celebrating a month early. So it's okay. Mike Richards says, God Emperor needs many titles, indeed. Mr. Lundell says, so both Laura and Kowalski are kissing CBS ass now. I didn't stick around long enough to hear Laura's side of it. I don't know if he was mostly agreeing with Kowalski or mostly arguing against him. I just know that he was basically playing the Kowalski video in full, so I didn't want to stick around. I like when Laura talks and when Laura does Laura videos, or, any video he is in. But when he plays someone else's video, if it's not someone I'm interested in, it's like, it's just not for me. Now, Kowalski was there in person, so it's not that, I assume they talked about it ahead of time. It's not like he was just playing someone's video without them knowing. Shromore says, Joseph, indeed, I left Laura's stream as soon as Joe went live. Well, thank you, Shromore. I didn't know if Laura was still live or not, to be honest. I didn't wait for him to end, but I didn't go live immediately either. Derek says, magic mushrooms in space. Captain MKG says, good to see you, Bird of Prey 5. Good to see you, Captain. Resolute says, how is Lork? I don't know if he is. I don't know that he is. Let's be honest there. I don't know that that's true. Mr. Miles says, first, of course. Yosef says, Bird of Prey, watch the whole video because it does not deserve the hate it will get. I'm not going to watch it because I don't care. Keltwoski just put a perspective on it, and he will get much poo for it, same as Laura. I heard his perspective, and I reject it. Mr. Viles yells, Cree, double wrench me. It does matter if you're first. How dare you, sir? How dare you? Wow. Kronos asks, Cree? What's Cree? Mr. Miles yells Cree again. Mike Richards gives Mr. Miles 2 wrenches. Joseph says Columbus is like Edison of 1492. Because Edison gets a bad rap these days, as he should. Unlike Columbus. John DeMarco says the 2 odds of 2 stories about giant blue space traveling tardigrades being developed independently must be astronomical. And if it was just the blue tardigrades, you'd say, maybe. But then you have a character that looks exactly like Michael Burnham. You have a character that looks a lot like Tilly. You have a character that looks a lot like Stamets, a character that looks a lot like the Doctor, and they just happen to be in a gay relationship together. Okay, what are the chances of that? That those particular 2 characters not only happen to look like Stamets and the Doctor, but they also happen to be, homosexual couple. That's like the one, that's where you get from 1 in 100 to 1 in 1,000 to 1 in a frickin' bajillion. Because that doesn't happen all the time. Thomas Potts with a $1.99 super chat. It's your fault, Q said humans are horrible. Thank you, Thomas. I
bring you up communications with Starfleet Command, Captain.
I take that as a badge of honor if Q If Q is judging the human race by me, I'm happy. We should be so lucky. I do not have an update on Anti-Tracker, Mr. Trent. He didn't look good the other day. Yeah, I'm sure he's still in pain. It's fair to say that. Let's see. I don't think he's on. He might be watching. I don't know. All I can tell is that somebody is on his computer because his Skype is green, showing that it's active. So I don't know if it's him or somebody, he asked somebody to do something on his computer, but I say that is it's a good sign that maybe he is up and about. Like I said yesterday, I'm not going to pester him every day because honestly, unfortunately, this isn't going to be a thing that goes away in a day. It might not go away in a week. So I'm going to give him time. And the deal is, God forbid something major happens, something bad happens. Mrs. Anti-Tracker will let me know, and then I will let you guys know. So as long as I don't have a message from Mrs. Anti-Tracker, everything is pretty much the same as it was before. So I would assume he's still in a bunch of pain, and he's doing his best to possibly stream tonight if he can. And I would assume, since we haven't heard anything one way or the other, he hasn't put out a video saying he wasn't going to stream, that we can still assume he will stream tonight. Now it's Monday, so he may or may not show up on Midnight's Edge After Dark at 8 p.m. So check out Midnight's Edge After Dark at 8, see if he's on there. And if he's not, wait around another hour or so, he'll usually stream. I have no confirmation one way or the other, unfortunately. I don't want to pester him. Just let him, if he's laying down or he's relaxing or he's not thinking about the pain, which is the best thing you could be doing, is to be doing something else. Then let him live his life, and we'll hear from him when he's ready. Mr. Lundell says, Bird of Prey, if you actually look at the whole tardigrade traveling through space thingy, I think the estate of Frank Herbert has a shot at CBS as well. Can you say Guild Navigator? I have no idea what Guild Navigator is. Derek says, what if you are first on Bird's live stream? Well, then you're extra special that day. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, to be fair to all those who previous discoveries only went so far and left the Egyptians, went to Peru, nowhere else. To be fair, those who previous discoveries only went so far and left the Egyptians, went to Peru, nowhere else. I kind of get what you're saying, Darth, but it seems like there's a couple of words missing. The Egyptians may have made it to the New World. I honestly don't know. I don't think anybody knows for sure. I see History Channel videos all the time about, did Egyptians make it to the New World? Did ancient Sumerians make it to the New World? Because there were maps. Apparently there were ancient maps in China and the Middle East that had the New World supposedly on it centuries before Columbus. Yes, Mama Praise is correct. The aliens told them what the world looked like. But if you don't subscribe to ancient astronaut theory, I don't know, okay? There's a lot we don't know about history. But what we do know was that Columbus was the one that made it popular, so he gets the credit, he gets the day, he gets the holiday. And if you don't like it, tough crap. Every person listening to this stream should be thanking their God or whoever they believe in, or if they're atheist, thanking the luck of the draw or the universe, whatever it is, that Columbus discovered America when he did, because had he not, world history would be completely different, right? If there was no United States, in all likelihood, Europe would have been taken over by certain Germans, and God knows what would have gone on in the rest of the world. But I can tell you, it probably wouldn't have been good. I'm not saying America has been perfect. God knows America has not been perfect. Okay? America has done its share of shitty things. Really shitty things. But overall, on the balance, we are better off, far better off for having had America and the entire New World than not. Okay? I don't care what your ancestry is. You are better off today than you would have been had Columbus not come. That's just the way it is. And let's see if YouTube has destroyed the channel yet. Yes, syphilis did come from the New World. That's the disease I was talking about. Right? They did not have syphilis in Europe until it was brought back to Europe from the New World. So I'm not saying it was an even trade by any means. Okay, 90% of the indigenous population died from European diseases does not in any way equate to millions of Europeans getting syphilis and the god-awful procedures they tried to use to cure it, including dripping molten lead into parts of a body that should never have anything dripped into them. And awful, god-awful things used to treat syphilis. And all the people who suffered and died from it doesn't hold a candle to the people who suffered and died from smallpox and other European diseases that were brought to the New World. But it did go both ways. It wasn't a one-way street. Right, nobody knew they were giving diseases. It was the one incident where people purposely gave smallpox blankets to Native Americans was centuries later, after everything. And it happened once, as far as we know, to a very small group. And a very asshole group of people decided to give blankets to Native Americans, purposely did with smallpox. It wasn't something that was happening all over the place. Europeans on Columbus's time, and even 100 years later, didn't understand how smallpox spread. Resolute Germ says Columbus still died in horrible debt. Well, here's the thing. Columbus got shafted. And I know, you're say, well, he deserves it. No, he didn't. But here's a little bit about Columbus. He discovered the New World. He went back to Spain, and what's going on but the Spanish Inquisition. And somebody who was a little jealous of Columbus said that, hey, Columbus, I think he might be a little Jewish, because Columbus wrote in his log that he saw a light in the sky that reminded him of the Jewish menorah. And this book that was all you needed to do. Okay, that's all you kind of needed during the Spanish Inquisition, was say something like that, and they started grilling into you like, hey, what's up? And he's like, no, that wasn't me. I didn't mean it that way. But he was a marked man at that point. He was on the defensive, and he ended up, he did die in debt. He wasn't a great businessman, but he was a great publicity man, a great PR man. So yeah, you don't want to take business lessons from Christopher Columbus, but publicity lessons, sure. PR, can't be beat. Also, just FYI, there are no original copies of Columbus's actual logs. They're all gone. What they have were copies that were translated by an Englishman, and I forget his name, but he was somebody who hated Columbus because people hated other ethnicities at the time. He had a bone to pick with Columbus, so this English person who translated supposedly an original copy of Columbus's logs purposely translated things as terrible as he could to make Columbus look as bad as possible. And because the original logs are gone, that's what we use as the primary source of Columbus canon, Columbus history. So we read things like Columbus took slaves and Columbus this and Columbus that, and you're like, oh my God, he's terrible, evil. Well, no, there's other ways those words could have been translated. Okay, he called people savages, but savage could have just mean non-Christian, and he was going to, what he meant was he was not going to enslave people, he was going to convert them to Christianity. Anyway, Knowing Better did a really good video on the real history of Christopher Columbus, and I suggest everybody check out assuming he still has it up, because Knowing Better went a little crazy with TDS the last year or so. I had to stop watching his videos, but assuming he left it up, it's Knowing Better Christopher Columbus. It's probably got bajillions of views on YouTube. It does a really good retelling of what we really know about Christopher Columbus, and about how so many people get caught up on bullshit lies about him. And it means even more coming from a guy like Knowing Better, because Knowing Better is otherwise firmly on the side of the people who are usually the ones telling us Columbus is a monster and Columbus shouldn't be celebrated. But at least he speaks the truth. He did the research, and he did a great video. And for that reason, not only was I watching his videos for years, I was a patron of him for quite a long time, until he just went a little too nuts, even for me. Darth Raven says Chinese crashed. I don't know. Josh Reed says Bird, no, King of Spain saw the potential in the New World when he seen the gold Columbus came back with. 47 Yorktown says, Happy Columbus Day, Mr. Bird, and I am a happy Canadian. Thanksgiving Day to my fellow Canucks. Thank you, 47 Yorktown. Rambling Canuck also wishes you a happy Canadian Thanksgiving. Mr. Miles says, Bird of Prey, what about the issue with being first versus vision when it came to Edison and Tesla? Well, first meaning what? I mean, people argue, was Edison the true inventor of the light bulb? He purchased the patent or something. I don't know. He had people working on it. But that doesn't really matter. The Tesla Edison wars wasn't about being first. It was about being best. And for God knows what reason, Edison had it in his heart that he was stuck on DC, even though AC was clearly superior in every goddamn way. But he wanted to make it world run on DC power, and it just wasn't ever going to work. But he couldn't deal with that. So he did some terrible, awful things, including murdering elephants by electrocution, and even creating the electric chair and getting states to use it as a form of punishment hoping people would see the horror of the electric chair and say, oh my God, I don't want AC electricity in my house. I could wind up cooked in the electric chair. I'm going to go with safe DC and get these really big wires that get nice and warm coming to my house instead of these little tiny wires that bring more power on AC. It all backfired on him. Unfortunately, Tesla also died in debt, but AC won the day because its brilliance spoke for itself. Kronos says, I hate annoying diseases. Everybody. Josh Reed says, no disease came from the New World. Only food came from the New World. No, syphilis came from the New World. Kennewick says, yes, supposedly syphilis. Jason Link, Qapla, Birdo Prey, Mamo Prey, Sassio Prey, and Siso Prey. Well, Siso Prey is not here, Jason, but thank you. Josh Street says, most annoying diseases come from sub-Saharan Africa. I can neither confirm nor deny that. Mr. Lundell says, Josh Street, actually, there was a mild form of syphilis. Yeah, Native Americans gave to Spanish sailors. Mike Richards says, up until 20 years ago, Columbus Day was a city holiday in Columbus, Ohio. Everybody got the day off work. There was a big parade down High Street, and the final float was Santa Claus. Very cool. Well, there's still a Columbus Day parade here in New York City. It is a federal holiday, yes. Yosef says, Bird of Prey, can you please measure your blood pressure during the streams? Could be interesting. Well, that would really limit my arm movements. I can measure my heart rate. I keep the heart rate monitor nearby. Oh wow, we're up there. We're at 115. It's usually about 90. Yeah. Don't worry. I don't get nervous till we hit 130. 113 it was when I took it off. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, did you do anything special for the weekend? Like any special dinners or anything? No, we don't really. It's not a holiday you actually celebrate other than talking about and maybe watching the parade on TV, which I didn't do. Ms. Londell says, Josh Street, it mutated into a more virulent form. Excuse me. Miss Amao says, I'm sure those colonists gave smallpox-infected blankets to the natives because they just wanted to keep them warm. That is a way overblown thing. Yes, it happened, but it happened in a very small scale one time. It was not a program of giving smallpox blankets to the natives. And to be honest, you guys want to know, the natives, they were not some defenseless kumbaya people that just, like tribbles or porgs that just got the shit beat out of them. The natives, they did some really bad stuff on their side too, okay? The first school shooting in the United States was Native Americans shooting up a schoolhouse, killing all the kids and their teacher. It is the first known school shooting in the United States. It was carried out by Native Americans against a goddamn schoolhouse. Okay? There weren't any evil people inside that were going after Native Americans. It was school children and a teacher that were killed. So, yeah. The white man, the Europeans, they did some terrible, terrible things to Native Americans, and the Native Americans did some terrible, terrible things to the Europeans. It was not a one-way street, once again. Okay? You don't hear about what the Native Americans did back, but it was gruesome. It was gruesome stuff. That wasn't, that's not only in Westerns. That was history. You did not want to come face to face with a Native American. If you were there back in the day, you would probably be killed in a very horrific way. Ms. Londell says, Josh Street, it mutated into more virulent form. Damn it, why did I reread something I could barely read the first time? Jason Link says, lore ended a minute or two after you went live, Bird. Oh, thank you, Jason. I don't feel too bad. Nicole Malo says, YouTube, stop the tomfoolery. If I like something, leave it be, you bastards. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it, and you know what? I'm starting to believe that YouTube really is desubscribing people from channels. I don't know why, but I've had people tell me now, multiple people tell me they've been desubscribed from Anti-Trekker's channel. My channel, I seem to have hit the 1,480 subs mark 5 or 6 times. I get to 1,480, I lose 3 subs. I slowly gain the subs back, I lose 3 more subs. I don't know if it's something I'm saying. It seems unlikely. It also seems unlikely that YouTube has an algorithm to systematically drop people, but I don't know what else it could be. I'm open to suggestions. Mr. Trent, yes, I talked about Anti-Trekker already. Unfortunately, no particular update on Anti-Trekker, which means all is the same. Joseph says, but do not hate me. We can disagree and still be friends. I will buy your friendship once the new credit card comes. Joseph, I will never hate you. We can disagree and still be friends. That is very true. And you know what? That is the sign of somebody with an open heart and an open mind. And it's a great, great thing that we can disagree and we don't hold it against each other. I don't attack your family, right? I don't say you're a bunch of curse words because you simply have a different opinion than me, which you are 100% entitled to. Okay? I value diversity of opinion. I really, really do. I like it when people disagree with me, but can remain calm and remain civilized to each other. It is something we're losing in this world today. A certain person on Facebook said to me in a comment, why do I always like deleting your stuff? And I wanted to say, well, because you don't value criticism. You don't value differences of opinion. But I didn't, because I would just get more criticism, and that would be deleted. Josh Reed says, Mr. Lundell's groovy movie, Syphilis, was known by the Romans in Greece, but it wasn't called syphilis at the time. It was called Great Pots, or a way you know your husband or wife cheated. I don't know. Could have been something else. Mr. Miles says, Bird of Prey, from what that guy said, the character that looks like Stamets in the game isn't the same one in the relationship with the black guy in the game. That's, well, everything I heard that they were in the relationship. Thomas says, did you call Anti-Trekker ugly? No. Did I? I mean, I would if I had to, but I don't think I did. Resolute says, as long as he has the pills, Anti-Trekker will be okay. Shrownmore says, the evil leader of Turtistan is not watching, he is lurking. Mike Richards says, Anti-Trekker looked very Klingon with his hair down. Yeah. A little bit hippie, too. Yosef says, he is not even lurking. Autofill does not complete his name. Heresy. He could be lurking with a different name. Try Mrs. Anti-Trekker. Thomas says, Anti-Trekker has a habit of just staying online even though he isn't at his desk. That's true, too. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, if he has pain in his leg, punch him in the balls so he won't think about the leg pain. Well, you see, the pain in his leg has successfully stopped him from feeling the pain in his back. So it's been somewhat successful. Jason Link says, Bird of Prey, you look flustered today. Everything okay, but yeah, it's just because I'm wearing a red shirt. It makes my skin look extra red. I'm fine. Thomas says, a great movie, Gladiator, is now on BBC America. Oh, earlier it was All Good Things. Thomas says, we know Bird of Prey hasn't landed in America yet. Derek says, Thomas, I know a chap who was a stuntman in Gladiator. Was he the guy who got kicked down the well? Wait, was that? No, that was the 300. Never mind. Schronmore says bird of prey. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. Yes. John Rocky says Bird should sub in for Auntie on Sundays. Then he can call the show Bird o' Prey, P-R-A-Y. Not a bad idea, but of course, it's not the same without Anti-Tracker. As for the aliens thing, Mamo Prey always, every time that guy comes on, Mamo Prey can't help but mention his hair. Like, why does he have his hair like that? You know. And I think it's true. I think they purposely give TV shows to people that look like him because he looks so ridiculous. He's going to talk about aliens. Like, well, we're going to have somebody that's going to talk about aliens. Let's make it this guy, George, whatever his name is, with the crazy, crazy hair, because anybody normie who looks at him will say, oh shit, this guy's a freak. This guy's obviously crazy. Nothing he says can possibly be true. Where if you had somebody, you know, more legitimate talk about it, like, what's his face that does Through the Wormhole? Morgan Freeman, right? Morgan Freeman would never do a UFO show because people would take Morgan Freeman more seriously. So, because he doesn't look like a crazy man. John Iraqi says, I read that. Ms. Lundell says, ancient astronaut theory. An engineer believing in ancient astronaut theory. Dude, please, listen, I'm not saying I believe. I'm just saying it's possible. Right. The easiest way for me to believe that the pyramids were built are by ancient astronaut theory. Kronos says, yay, America. Yosef says, Jason, he got a haircut last time. It did not go too well. Yeah, I noticed his hair is a little better. Jason says, Columbus discovered America. Fake news. No, not that Columbus discovered America. Columbus publicized America, which is real news. Mr. Miles says, oops, I put an alien on that twice. Gotta fix it now. Joseph says there are movies about it, so it can't be fake. Mr. Miles says, I don't know, therefore aliens, ancient astronaut theorist. Mr. Miles says, that's better. Thomas Bott says, lies, Moses discovered America. If you've got proof, Thomas, I'm willing to listen. Was he on the alien spacecraft when he discovered America? And he said, oh, what's that there? And they said, don't worry about it for another 2,000 years. Kennewick says, today's Google Doodle celebrates Joseph Plateau, not Columbus. Shocked, I tell you. Yeah, Google. Kronos says, ouchies, I bet this video's probably already been demonetized. Nicole says, YouTube, you vex me. Leave me the hell alone. Indeed, YouTube. Joseph says, syphilis, not the latest STD we got from America. Jason says, you know how it's fake. Banks and post offices closed. Yes. Kennewick says, with my like, what the hell, my like disappeared. They probably are racing likes. It's probably aliens. Master Miles says, same. Joseph says, 30 watching, so hit the like. Mamo Prey's like also disappeared. Damn it, YouTube, you're stealing my likes. 30.
Again.
She can't like it. Refresh the page. 30 watching, so hit the like and the dislike. Reveal yourself. Indeed. Indeed. Kronos says, my likes are disappearing as well. Everybody's likes are disappearing. Kennewick's likes are disappearing. Oh, wow. Mr. Miles says, same thing. Kronos is you.
And I refreshed.
Mom refreshed the screen too, and it's going away. It is going away. This is it. This is YouTube. They're moving in. You can't do a Columbus Day stream. They're going to dislike it. They're not going to let anybody like it. YouTube is being a ... Fill in the blank. No diseases are, well, kind of they are by Thomas. They'll go against either gender. Mr. Miles says it seems to be happening to everyone. Captain MKG, same here with the likes too. Joseph says, same thing was happening to me on Laura's stream. Try mobile. Comic says, Bird, quick, we must celebrate the joys of Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm triggered. We should have an Indigenous Peoples Day. It should be any other day but today. Or Christmas. Or 4th of July. Or Thanksgiving. Maybe we'll make
5 seconds it stays.
Maybe we'll make July 3rd Indigenous Peoples Day. That seems fitting. YouTube is listening, says Ken Hoyt. Resolute says, that's right, the Aztecs would have destroyed everyone in the New World. The other civilizations chose the Spanish opposition over the Aztecs' destruction. Kronos says, I hope YouTube is listening. Anti-Tracker, welcome. Says, hey, yes, I'm in pain. I'm going to try to stream tonight, but no guarantee. Well, we support you, Anti-Tracker. We support you. Mike Richards says, if you don't believe in the exploration, that means you wish you were still a serf in Europe. Yes. Resolute changes it to oppression. Spanish oppression over the S. Kronos says, hey, Anti-Trigger, how you feeling today? Jason says, I watch on Xbox One and I type on the phone. Double likeness, backed up. Take that poo-too. Not Ryan Johnson says, Bird is fake news. Kronos discovered America. Mr. Miles discovered the alpacas. I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. Derek Rigbana says, all hail Anti-Tracker. Mike Richards says, Anti-Tracker, take care of yourself. Thomas says, hello to Anti-Tracker. Joseph says, Anti-Tracker, pain means you are alive. Honestly, I have no idea what people should say in situations like this. Get better soon. Sounds like an order, not a wish. Well, it's okay. You can order him to get better. Jason Link says, Anti-Trigger, health comes first, bud, but you already know that. Shromore says, greetings to Anti-Trigger, evil leader of Kurdistan, indeed. Thomas is the people who do crash dummy tests, learn from bird streams. Darth Raven says, bird of prey on some pharaohs, I forget who, they have had cocaine and other elements on their bodies that is only found in Peru. Well, I can tell you right away that cocaine is not only found in Peru. That said, yeah, I don't know how they would have had cocaine in ancient Egyptian times. On the other hand, a lot of people say a lot of stuff about ancient Egyptians that is just total bullshit. I don't know where the people come up with this, but it is so much bullshit. I remember learning in high school learning, in quotation marks, from one of my health teachers, aka a gym teacher who had to get suckered into teaching a health class, that one of the pharaohs, whatever the name of what's-his-face, the famous one, King Tut, that they had discovered that King Tut died, and I swear to God, they taught this to us. They said King Tut died of AIDS. King Tut died of AIDS. And I raised my hand. I said, are you sure about that? Because I don't think AIDS was around back then. And they're like, oh, it was around. They just didn't have a name for it. And I was like, okay. Bullshit. The King Tut did not die of AIDS. There is nobody who says that. This teacher was on crack or something. They didn't know what the F they were doing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some teachers are great. There are some great teachers in high school. There are some shitty garbage teachers. They have no business teaching. They didn't want a real job. They decided, hey, let's be a teacher. Oh, I don't want to teach. Let's be a gym teacher. And then they got suckered doing a class they didn't want to do, because they didn't want to have to give homework or read homework or give tests. So they just said, fuck it. I'm going to smoke up before I go to class, and then I'm just going to say whatever comes out of my mouth. King Tut has AIDS? Sure, I'll say King Tut has AIDS. They're all idiot kids anyway. What are they going to do about it? Nothing. Nothing. Also, some idiot teacher told me that Mexico had the cure for cancer. They told me Mexico had the cure for cancer, that her friend had lung cancer. She went to Mexico. She went into the hospital. They fixed her up in 2 weeks, and she was perfectly fine. So if we ever got cancer, just go to Mexico, because Mexico has the cure for cancer, and the drug companies won't let it in America. So boo the drug companies. They were hiding the cure for cancer from us, but the Mexicans had it. That was more just grade A bullshit. I don't know where these people came up with this stuff. If they're still alive, they are the ones that are saying they're going to have to eat the babies to save the world from global warming. It boggles my mind these people were allowed to teach. We say that I want to give people, there need to be tests or something. Okay? There need to be really important, really complicated tests before you become a teacher. Because if you tell a kid the wrong stuff, holy shit, does that ruin their lives, and not ruin their lives completely, but it can warp their outlook on life something incredible. For 10 years, I'm like, cancer's not that big a deal. If I ever meet somebody who gets cancer, I'll just tell them to go to Mexico. They'll get all fixed up. I believed it. No, that doesn't work like that, okay? If Mexico had the cure for cancer, Steve Jobs wouldn't be dead. Joe Biden's son wouldn't be dead, okay? Because they would be using the so-called cure. These people would have access to it. There's no cure for cancer. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how powerful a politician you have. I don't care where you live on the planet. If you've got cancer, it's a goddamn, roll of the dice, more or less, as if it's going to help. There are some good treatments. We've gotten many better treatments over the years for some specific types of cancers, but there's no cure. There's no cure in Mexico. There's no cure in Cuba. That's bullshit. It's total bullshit. And they were teaching this to us. They were teaching this to us as plain as they were trying to teach us arithmetic and angles and fractions and quadratic equations. My physics teacher tried to tell us once, but that one I did stand up to him, that when matter and antimatter collide, it releases pure energy and matter. That matter just annihilates antimatter, and only the antimatter gets converted to energy, and the matter stays. And I raised my hand. I was like, I don't think it works like that. I was like, I'm pretty sure that when matter and antimatter collide, they're both annihilated and just get energy. And he was our AP physics teacher. He's like, how can that be? I was like, I'm not saying I know how it works. I'm just saying that I'm very sure I read that's how it works. And he's like, but if that's the case, then why didn't the whole universe annihilate itself if half of the universe was matter and half the universe was antimatter? And again, I said, I don't know why, but I know that when matter and antimatter collide, it's for complete, they both annihilate each other into energy. There's nothing left but energy. Luckily, he understood and he listened to me and he looked it up, and sure enough, he realized I was right, and he apologized to the class and corrected himself. But he was a much better teacher than the idiots, dolts they got in the phys ed department of my high school, who were all, you could tell they were all goddamn drug addicts and dredges of society. If you sat next to them on a train, you would probably move because they would stink, I'm sure. 1:15. And another one, one of the PE teachers wanted to stop the school bake sales because, kids were getting fat. So we should stop the bake sales and we should just sell warm bottles of water. She's like, I see kids bringing in bottles of water all the time. They're not cold. We could just sell warm bottles of water for like $2 a bottle. This was back in the late 90s. Nobody's paying $2 a bottle for your warm water. If I'm going to pay for water, I want it cold. God damn it. Then there was the ridiculous ditzy student in my class who had a warm bottle of water, and now in my high school we had a vending machine room where you could get like snacks and candies and also cold drinks. So there was sodas and whatnot, iced teas and whatnot. So she went down and she got an ice cold Lipton or whatever iced tea. And she had a warm bottle of water. Now, we were in the science classroom because that's where, again, I told you people wanted to hang out. The cool kids hung out in the science room. So she wanted to make her water cold. So did she fill up a sink with cold water and ice and then put the iced tea and the water in it and try to cool down the water that way? No. She opened the aluminum can of perfectly good iced tea, drained it down the sink, washed it out with water so that there would be no flavor of iced tea left in the can. Then, meanwhile, the can is in her hand the entire time. She then pours like a half of her water into the can because it was previously cold, thinking, well, now the cold can was going to make the water cold. And she thinks she did it too. She's like, oh, it worked. Bullshit, it worked. Okay? All that coldness was in the liquid in the can. The goddamn aluminum of the can didn't hold any coolness. And whatever coolness it had was probably erased, but you're holding it in your warm hand the entire time you were doing all this. Because it took you like 3 minutes to dump it out and pour the water in over so carefully so you're not pouring water over the side of the can. Now you're going to tell me it got cold? Bullshit, it didn't get cold. You just didn't want to admit it was a stupid idea. Lindsay was her name. Always, never looked at a Lindsay the same way again. That's some good ranting you got going on there, Vertebrae, says Kronos. Derek says, if in doubt, blame the English. Indeed. Jason says, fake news to Thomas. Darth Vader says, Vertebrae. Speaking of ancestry, dude, half my ancestors' countries do not exist anymore. I don't know if we're sorry to hear that or happy to hear that, Darth. Clearly, wherever they came from still exists. Mr. Miles says, not Ryan Johnson, I discovered alpacas. Damn, I knew I should have paid more attention in history class. Anti-Tracker says, fake news. America was discovered by white Jesus when he taught the Native Americans English. Okay, I'm willing to listen to Anti-Tracker. Yosef says, I always... Mama Pray says Anti-Tracker's on the drugs. Don't listen to what he has to say. Addy in stereo, out of order here, says, if Joe starts ranting about one not being a prime number, I know where you live, Joe. 1 should be a prime number. By all metrics, 1 is a prime number. A prime number is a number divisible by itself and 1. So, yes, 1 is divisible by itself and 1. Hence, it's a prime number. So if the aliens ever ask you to tap out the prime numbers to prove you are an intelligent species and not food, you damn well better start with 1. Because if you start with 2, they're going to eat you. Because they're up 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. No, idiot. Not smart enough. He didn't start with 1. You become part of a human sandwich. And they're going to put some Tabasco sauce on you and eat you up with alpaca fries on the side. But if Addy in stereo wants to be eaten by the aliens, he can start with 2. The rest of us, we start writing with 1. By all metrics except the ones used by mathematicians. Mathematicians, what do they know? Okay? Freaking people who have too much education, they call themselves mathematicians. Jason Link says, epic bird rants coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Miss Lundell says, so why do we call Columbus an Italian when his family was Spanish? I thought he was Italian, but he got his money from the Spanish king and queen. Maybe he married a Spanish chick, because, he was there, and they tend to be pretty hot. John Araki says, Green Jesus believes in climate change. Well, that's not going to, his name is still Jesus. He's not going to be welcome. Shronmore says, Derek McManus, that's true. The only time I don't believe the English is when I blame the Dublin. John Araki says, rant. Kronos is going to have to give up on the thumbs up thing. Well, thank you anyway, guys. You fought a valiant fight. Derek, I blame Leo Vardacher. Shronmore says, Derek, I also blame Leo. Jason says, Sky Fairy with warp drive that seeded the galaxy is real, I tell you. TNG told me so. I believe it. Joseph says, I thought Jesus teaches Spanish. Jesus teaches Spanish. Jesus teaches American. Mr. Miles says, Bird of Prey, Columbus was a white male, so of course he's evil and or incompetent. Of course. But the real Columbus was neither evil nor incompetent. Anti-Trigger says, Columbus was a monster. After all, he was Italian. Yeah. Okay. You're lucky you're in pain, Anti-Tracker. I would send somebody to break your legs, but mission accomplished. Thomas says, Jesus spoke Korean. I wouldn't be surprised. Cronus says, wow, Anti-Tracker, wow, you must be in major pain. Yeah. Darth Raven says, Anti-Trigger, he was a meatball, lol. Jason Link says, at least he had some good pasta. Mike Richards says, Anti-Trigger, hey, watch it. John Aragi says, Bird is an AC supremacist. An AC supremacist? Kennewick says, do Canadians eat canned cranberry sauce too? That's a good question. They probably eat canned maple sauce. Anti-Trigger says, I'm not just saying things based on drugs I'm taking. Oh, and by the way, do you know that Columbus wrote a hit song called New World Fever? I was not aware of that, no. Kronos says, I'm not even Italian, and that hurted meh. I'm sorry, Kronos. Thomas says, has anyone seen Doolittle trailer? I'm not liking how Robert Downey Jr. sounds. I have not. Kronos says, Tesla had one of those really cool looking sparky things, Tesla coil. I made one a couple of times. Mr. Lundell says, Anti-Trekker, Columbus was from the Catalan region of Spain. Half of his family supported Frederick and Isabella in their quest to unite Spain. The other half went to the other side? I don't know any of that. Could be. Resolute's funny thing is Edison's chair couldn't even kill anyone. It just tortured people, so some guys, they just ended up shooting to the end the suffering. The suffering. They ended the suffraging. Kronos says, Bird of Prey, please calm yourself. Thomas says anti-trigger should wear a heart monitor watching STD with an overlay on the screen. Schronmore says mention the latest short track. Watch the monitor go over 200. Thomas says, but the Spanish had boom boom sticks. Jason Link says, and smallpox. Chrono says, how do tribbles work into this? I'm not sure they do. Resolute says, hey, they didn't just shoot up the school. Well, yeah, that's true. Yosef says, Kronos, they are meant as food. Kronos says, you have to be really hungry to eat a hairball. Kennewick's Bird was talking about this, and he puts the link to it. The Wikipedia article. Yosef says, you have to shave it before you cook it. Kronos says, I have been unsubscribed. I still think the game is rigged, however. I haven't been unsubscribed. I still think the game is rigged, however. B is here. B. Cluette says, Nicole, they have been undoing my likes past 2 days also. Miss Mouse's Bird of Prey, you're so far behind by the time you get to this, the combo will have been moved on. But yes, Native American history is quite violent. Only a handful of tribes were peaceful. And they probably didn't last long because the violent tribes would wipe them out. Anti-Trigger says, I think the violence between Native Americans and whites, ain't the point. You are ignoring is that all this happened in Native American territory. Many of them saw it as invasion. Well, maybe they should have fought back a little harder. It was an invasion. Okay? It's what happened. And if aliens come to Earth, and they want the Earth, and they are 100,000 times more powerful than we are, guess what? They're going to wipe us out too. That's the way it works. If you don't want to be invaded, you need to have good weapons to defend yourself. I'm not saying I liked what happened, but I liked the results. And every damn one of us is better off for the results. So say what you want, but you can't argue that you did not benefit from the results. So it's a little disingenuous when people hate Columbus these days because every single one of them are better off for him having existed. Resolute says they unsubbed me from Bird of Prey 5X channel yesterday. That's twice already. Well, the Bird of Prey 5X channel doesn't put out regular content. Still, they shouldn't be unsubbing people. That's just bullshit. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, as I like to say, you are 100% free to your own opinion. You're wrong, but you free to it. Lol. Jason says, YouTube has been unsubscribing people from channels since last year. Started with independent news sources all sides of political spectrum. Now it's small channels that criticize corporations. Showmore's Bird of Prey happened a few times. When I uploaded a video, I lost 5 to 10 subs immediately it went live. It was not the content. The video had no views. Chrono says, Jason, that's not a good way to run a company if you ask me. Thomas is anti-trigger the way Bird of Prey 5 treats orphans. He probably came up with the blanket idea. Jason says, Kronos, they're probably getting paid to do it. Kronos says, wait, you can lurk with a different name? Of course you can. You can have multiple YouTube names if you want. Let's see. There we go. Darther and Bird of Prey, when you wear a red shirt, you look very ill and pale. Do I? I don't know. I don't feel very ill and pale. Mr. Miles says, anti-trigger, something else to consider, though, is they were always invading one another. Europeans were just a new people, not the typical one. Jason Link says, Kronos, takes me 2 seconds to switch names. And it takes him. John Araki says, how does Mama Prey feel about the Bernie Sanders hair? I don't think you have any opinion on Bernie Sanders. Do you have an opinion?
No.
What's with the hair? I don't even know. Is there something about his hair?
Well, yeah, his hair.
Oh.
It's just him.
It's just Bernie.
Yeah. Again, as I said, Hillary should stay home and be a grandmother. He could stay home and be some grandfather, great-grandfather, whatever.
Mama Pray says Hillary should stay home and be a grandmother. And Bernie should stay home and just be something. Whatever he is. A grandfather, a great-grandfather, a uncle, who knows.
There's a point in life
You should just give up.
No.
She said there's a point in life where you just give up. You're on certain things. Like being president. Resolute Germ says Morgan Freeman looks a lot like God. Yeah, I saw that movie too. Anti-Trigger says Miles agreed. However, that is why many of the tribes fought for territory with the white man showed up. It was just one more tribe to fight, but the tech level changed the game. Kronos says Bernie Sanders has dark brown hair. Mr. Londell says Bird of Prey, I studied architecture and industrial design. Want to know how the pyramids were built? Ask me. I know how the pyramids were built. Aliens. Mr. Miles says we have to consider things like the Aztecs. It's South America, but still America. It was European game that wiped most of them out. Kronos says Doc Brown makes it look good. Yeah, Doc Brown does make it look good. Jason says Resolute Germ, especially in Bruce Almighty. Kronos says even Mamo Prey. I don't know. He's way back on this. Darth Raven says Bird of Prey, the latest discovery says they built, then piled the sand platforms and pulled the stone rollers up. They found the burial in the cities, and their doctors became God Impotheth, Father. Theory, not fact. Mr. Miles says, Anti-Trigger, I agree. European technology was almost like cheating in a game. But when it comes down to the moral thing, Europeans didn't do anything they weren't already doing to one another. Indeed. Not that it makes it right. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, of all medicine, when they find his body, will have others made to him. Bird of Prey 5, of all medicine, when they find his body, he will have new oaths made to him. Rambling Canuck says, can't like the video either. Cinnabon Bunny says, alpaca Cinnabon. Cinnabon is building a secret warship on the moon. He streamed about it last night. I watched it this morning. I've agreed not to attack his ship for the foreseeable future. Until it's done. I'm also building a new ship. The SOB Frank Sinatra. However, the trials did not go well. When I had tried, it was a beautiful, beautiful ship. I was so dang proud of the ship. And I went to take off. And it couldn't take off. And I had a hell of a lot of engines pointing down. But it wasn't that the gears were locked. It wasn't that it was a station instead of a ship. I could move forward. I mean, it was very sparky and it broke things. But I could move forward and back and left and right. But damn it, it would not take off. It was just too goddamn heavy. And I mean, I had to replace almost half the tiles on the bottom, half the blocks with impulse blocks. And even then it wouldn't take off. It was only after I deleted the jump drives and the heavy cannons, then I was finally able to get it to slowly lift up. So I don't understand what's going on. I only built the thing to have 2 warp cores, 2 Defiant warp cores. And even if I threw on an extra 2 warp cores, it still wasn't enough to lift the ship. So I don't understand how it's not working, especially with the ship I had, how, it only had like 12 down thrusters and it was perfectly fine to lift straight up. This one had to have 50 up thrusters and it still wasn't moving. It's a terrible design flaw in the Sinatra. I don't know what to do. One theory is to supplement impulse engines with hydrogen. I'm not sure. There's a lot of room inside the ship. It is a big ship. But I don't know that there's enough room to add hydrogen tanks. Mr. Miles says, well, let's go back. No, I read that one. Thomas Bott says, I see 18 likes and 1 dislike. Yosef says, pyramids were built by Egyptians. We lost the technology like we lost the capability to build canals and sewers in the Middle Ages after the Romans did. NASA lost the Saturn V blueprints, FFS. I don't know that we lost, I guess we lost the technology. But, and again, this is stuff I've heard from the History Channel, so I don't know how legit it is. But, supposedly the Egyptians didn't have iron or steel. They only had copper. So if you're telling me they were supposed to cut those giant limestone and those giant granite bricks with copper tools, that just makes no sense. Okay, it would not work. It would take an infinite amount of time to cut those blocks you needed using copper tools. Copper is not nearly hard enough to cut that type of stone. Now, yes, if you do it on a small scale and you do it under laboratory conditions and you're constantly throwing water on it and you go back and forth for like 20 hours, you can make like a 1 centimeter cut in the stone. But just because it works on that level doesn't mean that it could have ever worked on the scale needed to cut the bricks for the pyramids. It just makes no sense. Plus, I know there are theories. There are theories on how the pyramids could have been built. But it makes no real sense that they would have invested all that time and effort into building the pyramids if they had to go through all that work. Now, I'm not saying that building the pyramids was easy, but there is just no way that it went down like people claim it did. I'm sorry, it makes no sense to me. Uncle Remus's Bird of Prey, you do realize you have a red shirt on. I hope you aren't beaming down to any planets today. No, Uncle Remus, not going to beam anywhere. Nicole Malo says, YouTube, kiss my grits. I wish I had some grits. B said that wouldn't let me like track yards yet. They wouldn't let me like track yards yesterday, which is when I noticed it. Interesting. Chronos says 18 likes, 1 diss here as well. Jason says only ones with stormtroopers on it, lol. Uncle Remus says Zoe Kravitz is going to play Catwoman in the upcoming Batman movie. I have no idea who Zoe Kravitz is. Yosef says, Uncle Remus, really? She has the looks for it. Well, that's good. Jerome Moore says, when the bird hits the moon and his spaceship goes boom, that's his live stream. I did lose a ship today, a small ship, and no, I wasn't recording it. I had built a hydrogen miner because I didn't want to be wasting uranium on little mining ships, and I tried to go mine some iron, and I was on my way back to the base, and the little thrusters just couldn't keep up, and I smashed into the ground. I almost lost, my health went down to critical, and the entire ship vaporized. The entire ship vaporized. There was an antenna and 3 3 light armor blocks left. Luckily, the iron and the stone and the ice that I had mined was laying across the landscape as big rocks I could pick up, and still, I was able to get one mining thing out of it. But I tell you what I did do. I built a blueprint machine, projector, and I built a little ship to weld it. And damn, that ship, when you use a ship to weld, it welds super fast. So I built another miner that I'll use to go out later. It's just got to charge for a while. It's not hydrogen, it's battery powered. So hopefully it'll be all charged when I get back in the game later tonight. Then I can do some real mining. Resolute says, and it's built ships that got him, and it's the bullshits that got him demonetized. Did I say that too many times? Mr. Miles is laughing. They never taught me like that King Tut died from AIDS. Well, didn't go to New York City public schools. Chrono says, oh, Jeebus. Jason says, WTF. I never heard that. Yeah, well. B says, what the hell? What subject does teacher teach? Like health, sexual education, sex ed, basically. Jason says, King Tut didn't have AIDS, but Bigfoot does. Chrono says, health teacher, eh? Yeah. Jason Lake says, wait, was he related to Trump? Joseph Patrick says, Snoo Stew related death. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, King Tut died from a broken back. He was extremely inbred, and his last 6 generations of ancestors were brother and sister. He married his sister and was a clubbed foot. Mr. Miles says, I was taught that people weren't sure exactly what killed Tutankhamun, but a common speculation was genetic issues due to keeping the bloodline pure. Thomas Potts says, there is a Morn in STD Season 3. Yes, I saw it. Maybe it's actually Morn. That would be something. Uncle Remus, I think Dax is going to be there. I think they go to Trill and they actually get the Dax symbiont. If they go all the way to Trill and they don't get the Dax symbiont, I'm going to be kind of pissed. But, it's STD, so I'll be pissed regardless. But I'll be pissed on a whole new level. Uncle Remus Catwoman casting official posted coming soon on IGN. Kronos is Bird of Prey. How's the heart rate going? And hopefully it's a little lower. Shromore says, Bird of Prey, I always thought King Tut died because it was over 4,000 years ago and no one lives that long. We're down to 111. 110. We're getting down. We're calming down. B says, lol, his aides and servants maybes. The teachers could be that dumb. It was all in a gender they were trying to push. Miss Lundell says, the going theory on King Tut's death was murder. Mexico has the cure for cancer. Ask Steve McQueen about that. Cinnabon says, wait, are you saying we're not supposed to eat the babies? Only if they're only if you're really, really hungry. Jason Link says, oh, no, God, Jason. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey. King Tutamanas was originally named Tutamakak, whatever. He changed his name to Amun when he became king to turn away from his father's religion and check your heart rate. Don't worry, heart rate's good. Mike Richards says, my health teacher was the football coach. Sigh. Yeah, well, I mean, these teachers don't have any teams to coach, so, yeah. Cronus is Bird of Prey. The more you rant, the more watchers you get. Well, that's cool. Addy in stereo, I had cancer and I was cured in Bolivia. I don't think that's exactly true, Addy. Though maybe it is. Thomas says Karoga has the cure for all illnesses. It's called an electric chair. Kennewick says Steve Jobs is alive. Someone on Reddit posted a pic of him smoking a hookah in Cairo Street Cafe. Oh, well, I'm convinced. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, your face has gotten a little red. You doing okay, man? Yeah, I'm okay. It's reflecting off the chart. Uncle Remus says there's no cure for cancer in Mexico. Everyone knows the real cure is in Kurdistan. I wish. Mr. Miles says, Mr. Londell, I've heard the theory that he was murdered too. The typical power struggle type of crap. And these are just bullshit theories. Nobody's ever going to prove it. Nobody's ever going to prove it. And to take one person's theory as gospel is just stupid. We don't know what killed him. We're never going to know what killed him. Deal with it. Live with it. Was it murder? Maybe. Was it death from, birth defect? Could be. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. He's dead. And he was very famous at the time. Jason Thomas, I thought there was a free health clinic. Resolute says, Cinnabon, you can eat babies, just not baby human. Baby cows and baby goats are fine. Technically true. Kronos says Steve Jobs is really alive and as Egyptian tribble had cured cancer. Maybe he's a Nasabdeen. Thomas says it's not free. Joseph says Cuba has had treatment for diabetes, but it's unproven. We were the only country buying it from them, and we stopped due to some side effects. U.S. researchers should get their hands on it and perfect it. Jason says, well, that explains all the extra shots. Cronus says, yeah, we had really bad teachers. Some I miss, however. Yes, some I miss. Mary Ashmead just uploaded another kitten video. So check out Mary Ashmead's channel after this, and check out her videos, and check out her GoFundMe for her very important cause of fostering kitties. Mike Richards says Columbus Day equal multi-rant day. Yeah. Addy in Stereo says Steve Jobs died because he tried to cure cancer with his CBD oil and magic rocks. It's honestly not that far from the truth. Cronus says, is it just me or does this live stream seem wonky? Live chat seem wonky. Wonky in what way? Jason says bottled water, biggest ripoff since paying for AOL on top of local broadband fees. Well, whoever would do that? No. Apparently tons of people still pay for AOL. Addie says Joe's nickname in high school was War Water Bottle. No, it was not. Joseph says Physics 101, Lowell Science Rant. Love it. Uncle Remus says bigger ripoff than banking fees. Tell me about banking fees. They're quite the ripoff. B says never bird, never forgets a dumbass. I really don't. Jason says my credit union doesn't charge fees, so yes, well. Addie in Stereo says if he starts ranting about one, okay, we did that one. He knows where I live. Darth Raven says Bird of Prey. When I was in PE class one day, I went for a walk in the forest, and I found a turd in a condom with a used tampon inside. Why? Why would you keep looking? Why would you keep looking after you see the turd? Why would you look once you saw it was a used condom? Why would you keep looking to see the turd? And if you did keep looking to see the turd, why will you keep looking to see the tampon? Any one of those should have been the red flag to turn around. Joseph says, Lindsay Wagner looked good in the 70s. John Araki says, never looked at the Lindsay the same way again. Lindsay? Is that what he said? Yeah. Cronus says, most hated teachers were the ones that were so close to retirement. John Araki says, never looked at a Sonequa the same way again. No, I did not say Sonequa. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, Mamo Prey, what is some of the stupid stuff you were taught? Were you taught anything stupid? Yeah, were you taught anything stupid? Everything she taught was stupid. It was the 60s. No, not offhand. Addy and Stereo says by all metrics except the ones used by mathematicians. John Araki says anti-trigger's on drugs, Mamo Pray, yes. Carlos says 1 isn't prime, not according to big math, it's not. Jason Link says this is America, we don't use metrics. Indeed, Jason. Addy says 1 is a unit by definition, it's not prime. That's a bullshit definition, Addy, and you know it. Thomas says, why does everyone think aliens use prime numbers? Because prime numbers are the best numbers. They're magic numbers. Now, we just have to assume the aliens use base 10. Otherwise, it's all gone to shit. Uncle Remus says, did someone say drugs? Can I get some? John Araki says, anybody want to see my unit? Nobody wants to see your unit, John Araki. Put it away. Cinnabon says, no aliens use choice numbers. Maybe aliens want to know a good phone number or something. Joseph says, sorry, Joe, 1 is not prime. It doesn't have exactly 2 positive divisors. Sure it does. 1 and 1. Or if you want to be 1 and 0.9 bar. Mic drop. I don't have a microphone to drop. But there you go. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, if they ask me the math question, I will ask them to help me into the bath of the barbecue sauce. Jason Link, Common Core Math, laughing his butt off. Cinnabon, they are cheap. Kronos says, Bird of Prey, you are doing well with the quote fingers today. Well, thank you, especially since this hand can't really do quote fingers. I also can't give the bird with this hand, which is very upsetting because I used to do it all the time, but the finger physically doesn't move any more than this. It's stuck. I can't, even if I pushed it up, it's impossible. It's impossible. This one I can still do it with, luckily, but just annoying. Just annoying, the hands. Mike Richards says, is 1 the loneliest number? Of course 1 is the loneliest number, but 2 is the loneliest number since the number 1. Uncle Remus, drugs. It's probably drugs. Anti-Trigger says, I'm not saying things based on drugs I'm taking. And oh, by the way, did you know that Columbus wrote a hit song called New World Fever, right? We read that already, but that shows how far behind I am. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, DC movies were getting a black Catwoman, black Poison Ivy, and we're getting black Batman in the comics. And I couldn't care any less, Darth Raven. Actual comics, I don't care. I don't think, like I said, the only ones I ever cared about were Garfield. I did read the Countdown comics prior to Star Trek Nemesis, but I don't think I actually purchased them. I think I downloaded them. I wasn't going to buy a comic book to watch a movie. F that. Jason says, I thought it was the New World Order. Oh, wait, that was the Ministry. Chrono says, wow, Joe just threatened you, Anti-Tracker. Did I? Resolute says, oh, his legs. Resolute says, them some good drugs you got, Anti-Tracker. Jason says he needs some of my all-natural THC caramels. Resolute says, thoughts are great, Jason. Have those every time I don't have caffeine. Thoughts are great, Jason. I think he means those are great, Jason. I have those every time I don't have caffeine. There we go. Joseph says, without Columbus, you would all be Europeans. I don't think all of us would be Europeans. Surely, of the 31 people watching right now, someone's primary heritage does not go back to Europe, I would imagine. Addie wouldn't be European. I don't think. Probably would be. Let's see. Darth Raven says, bird of prey, Native Americans were the same thing that happened in my country. Ireland had 150 kingdoms and 30 island tribes, so unity, if they were under one central power, would have made a severe difference. Yep, but it wasn't. They were not anywhere near coming under one central power. Jason Link says they literally have to take out delivery for edibles here. Just call and it shows up, kind of like pizza, which is good. You need that too. Wow. Addie says you can't say we're better off. For all you know, the Native Americans would have discovered the cure for cancer and Steve Jobs would still be alive and we'd have a decent MacBook Pro in 2019. But we wouldn't have a Big Mac. So, bullshit. We're all better off. Anti-Trigger says Mrs. Anti-Trigger argues that had it not been for Columbus, her people would likely never have been enslaved, and the underclass of Black America never would have caused countless suffering. Yes, it's true. They probably wouldn't have been enslaved in the United States. However, there were other places they could have been enslaved. And lots of ifs, ands, or buts. Miss Lundell says, Joseph, I wouldn't be European, I'd have been African. Thomas Bott says America would still have been founded without Columbus. No, it would not have, Thomas. I mean, something like America might have been eventually, but then they would have still killed off all of the Native Americans because it was inevitable as Europeans came and brought disease that the Native Americans were going to die off. They were a ticking time bomb, and there was nothing that could have stopped them. Were you going to say something? Right, yeah, if it wasn't Columbus, somebody else would have came. Okay, Columbus got the credit because he was the one with the first publicity, but clearly 10, 20, 50 years later, somebody else would have said, hey, let's sail west and see what's there. And if Columbus didn't exist, Mrs. Anti-Tracker never would have met you, Anti-Tracker. So, Joseph says, Mr. Lundell, groovy movie, so European colony. Chris M. Collecting says, hello and all hail the invader, Mr. Columbus. Resolute Germ says, Anti-Trigger, tell her Europe had slaves for 100 years before Columbus. Yep. Joseph says, Mr. Lundell, hope you get it as a joke since even my previous comment is stupid. Thomas Potts says, Europe has slaves for thousands of years before. Yeah, but not African slaves. Mr. Lundell says, Joseph, I did. Jason says they were enslaving their own people well before Whitey, but I'll digress. I was never there and had nothing to do with it. Darth Raven says, Resolute Germ, dude, you want to add a few zeros to that one, man. Mrs. Anti-Trigger's family was directly descended from the American slave trade, and they were not European imports. Okay. And I think it's terrible that that happened. However, 2019, her personally, does she think personally she is better off now than she would have been had all that not happened? Not saying her entire family history. There are some terrible, terrible things, I agree. But her, right now. Ms. Lundell says, slavery is something that every culture in history of mankind practiced. Whenever you had a group with physical numbers and political power to control another group, you had slavery. Yes, there was slavery, but there was slavery, and then there was slavery. American slavery of African Americans was particularly brutal. And yes, Africans enslaved other Africans. It was a thing that was going on. Other races, other peoples enslaved other peoples. The Jews were enslaved by the Egyptians and stuff going back. But just in terms of brutality, I think the American enslavement of African Americans was pretty high on the brutality scale. There are slaves, and then there were slaves. Was every slave brutalized? Not everyone, but a large number. Was it freaking awful to be torn away from your family and put on a ship where nobody gave a shit about you, and the only thing was to get you, the only reason they wanted you alive was so they could get more money when they got you to the market to sell you like a piece of meat? Damn it, I couldn't even imagine how awful that is. Now, when Africans would take other tribes as slaves, from what I hear, families would mostly stay together. It was more or less like you were under an oppressive government, like you were living in California rather than a free state. You had to do what somebody else told you, but for the most part, your family was still there. And although, the woman would probably be forced to have babies she wasn't going to have otherwise, you kind of got to live a life. Kronos is Cinnabon. I didn't say a word. Kronos is Bird of Prey. Did you crash? I did. I crashed. Jace, not with the big ship, with a small ship. Jason Link says, Anti-Trigger meant no disrespect, just making light of how often overlooked aspect of that horrible injustice and human tragedy. Zine says, wow, how heavy was it? Did you have enough power? I have no idea how heavy it was. I never ever looked at the weight. I always just assumed I would put enough, thrusters under it. When it didn't launch, I went under and put twice as many thrusters, and I was sure it would launch, and then it didn't launch. Now, the only thing I can think of with the ship was that I used a combination of Romulan, Ferengi, Federation, and red, Klingon, impulse drives. Oh, and yellow, because I wanted all different colors. So the bottom of the ship looked like a goddamn rainbow, or a light bright almost, because each block was a different color. I was making patterns with the colors. It looked like frickin' flying rainbow. Like I said, I always liked rainbows. So I don't know if mixing and matching the different impulse engines were the problem, because it was inconceivable to me that many thrusters couldn't take the ship off. Yosef, you need to power the Sinatra with a ZPM. I wish I could. I don't think they have it. Anti-Trigger says, the point is to say that everyone benefited from Columbus is patently false. You could just as easily try to argue everyone benefited from Hitler, since the world is better off now. Everyone alive in 2019 America, in my opinion, and you're free to disagree, benefited from Columbus, even if your family came here from the African slave trade. What your family went through was awful. Would they have said they benefited? No, absolutely not, okay? Would Mrs. Anti-Tracker's great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother who might have been a slave have been benefited from Columbus? No, clearly they did not benefit from Columbus. But 2019, Mrs. Anti-Tracker, in my opinion, did she benefit from Columbus? I think she probably did. I think she probably has a better life in the United States now than she would have had her family not been brought here forcibly. And frankly, it was brutalized. And I'm sure it was terrible. And like I said, for a long time, a lot of those people could not say they benefited from being here. But in 2019, dare I say it, I think they did. I think that right now, today, where else would you rather be? I mean, you're either going to be living in, there is no great, I hate to tell you, there to me, maybe it's ignorance, right? There is no great African Wakanda nation and say, oh, I would have been part of that had this not happened, right? I mean, if you're from Northern Africa, you'd probably be living under a strict form of Islam. There's freaking genocides all the time. If you're sub-Saharan Africa, there's their own problems there. There's genocides there. There's no great place. You say, well, if I was living there, things would have been better. Where in Africa today in 2019 are you better off than in America? I don't think it exists. I hope that doesn't, irreparably damage, her opinion of me, but that's again, it's my opinion. As for Hitler, if I could go back in time and stop Hitler, would I do it? I don't think I would, because it would ruin my entire family would be different. I might not exist. Dad will pray might never existed. Mom will pray probably wouldn't have existed. My grandfather probably only married my grandmother because of the war. The entire chain of history would have been different. And there's no guarantee that somebody worse than Hitler wouldn't have come up in his place. Or there's no guarantee that somebody else wouldn't have started a little earlier or a little later. And, Japan, if I could have stopped Hitler, if I could stop Pearl Harbor, would I do those things? No, I would not do those things because too much time has passed. The only thing I would stop, given the chance, is 9/11, and that is purely selfish reasons. Okay, and if I was a kid born after 9/11 from parents who met or something because of 9/11 from their timeline, I probably wouldn't stop 9/11 either if I was born after 9/11, because stopping 9/11 could destroy my own existence and everything I know. But right now, yes, I was born before 9/11. If 9/11 never happened, I would think things were probably been better off. Although, politics-wise, God knows what might have happened. But I would stop 9/11. I honestly would not stop Hitler. I honestly would not stop Pearl Harbor. I wouldn't stop World War I. I wouldn't stop the Crusades. I wouldn't stop Columbus from discovering America. I just wouldn't do any of those things. It would irrevocably change history. And for absolutely no guarantee, it would change history for the best. Honestly, stopping 9/11 is no guarantee it would change history for the best. It could be that there was a worse attack. If we stopped 9/11, nobody ever got serious about terrorism. And instead, they got thwarted with 9/11. And third time's the charm, they come back with a dirty bomb or something. Maybe, it's a risk I would take, but it's a risk I would take because it happened in my lifetime. 50 years from now, if you ask me, would I change 9/11? I probably would say no at that point. If my life is going decently in 50 years, if I'm, knock wood, if somehow I'm still alive at 90 years old, and I had
Mama Pray is still
Mama Pray is still there, and we're hanging out, and she says, "Hey, you know what? Would you erase 9/11 if you still could?" And I'd say, probably not, because too much time will have passed, too many babies will have been born, too many things will have happened, and assuming I'm still alive, things obviously didn't get all that bad. So, I don't know. And I understand. Me saying that is shocking, and I get it. But it's also truthful. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, you should call the ship the SOB erectile dysfunction because you can't get it up. Damn you, Darth Raven. Oh, Mamo Prey is laughing. I did say I couldn't get the ship up. Jason Link says that's absolutely logical, anti-tracker. Mr. Lundell says anti-tracker. The argument is that you benefited from Columbus because of the pigmentation of your skin. Resolute says, well, anti-tracker, we are better off having had the war. We did get nuclear power and computer tech. Or did aliens bring that to us? Mr. Miles says, anti-tracker, I don't think the Native Americans feel better for it. I'm sure they don't feel better for it, but Thomas's wizards made the pyramids. Jason says, especially considering the world gained intercontinental ballistic missiles because of him. Kronos says, I thought the Jaffa built the pyramids. Anti-tracker says, agreed, Miles, I think Bird misses the point that while obviously the European immigrants and their children benefited greatly, it's not necessarily true for every other group. I think I addressed that already. Miss Lundell says, Bird of Prey, the pyramids are built out of limestone. The limestone is soft and breaks. It's rough, straight lines. They only took 5-man crew to move a typical piece of limestone block in a pyramid. Only limestone? Kronos is Bird of Prey. I wish I could have been there to see it. No, don't we all? Jason says, does anyone here write scripts for videos? Am I overthinking things? I usually don't write a script, but I do sometimes. When I make a video I produce, I'd say most of the time I write a script. Do I follow the script? Not always, but I write one. Jason says, building pyramids was an effort of generations of unlimited number of workers, not slaves, by the way, building a piece of workshop for their gods. Do not underestimate humans. Anti-Trigger says, low, Mrs. Anti-Trigger has literally laughed out loud at how Bird pronounced Tucker. See, there's a part where my brain just gives up. Tutakakaram. Tutakakaram? Tutakakaram. Whatever. Robert says, hey, anti-tracker. Hey, trackers. Welcome, Robert. Kronos is anti-tracker, I know, right? Kronos is lulling. Mr. Miles is Bird of Prey. You want Kurtzman to put his special touch on Dax now? Are you sure about that? I want them to bring Dax in. The Dax symbiont. It could be a guy. I'm not saying it needs to be a girl. I'm not saying it should look like Jadzia or Ezri, but I wouldn't mind. Listen, if they're going to do it anyway, then they might as well bring Dax in. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, I had a stick. There was a bully around. I may have done an experiment of the aerodynamics of turd-filled tampon condom into the face of a 6'4" bully. It was very successful. Well, Darth, I'm surprised you did not get your ass beat for that. Kronos says the bird can't do the bird. No, well, I can on one hand, not the other. Darth Raven says Bird of Prey, low pronounced Radari. Radari us con... I don't know. Radari us Conco Bear, King of Concat High, King of Ireland. Ha ha ha. It's very easy. Turka common equal toot and common, says Mr. Miles. Toot and common? Is that how you pronounce it, Tutankhamun? Well, why don't they just spell it that way? Thank you, Mr. Miles. Joseph says, 1 is prime. Pyramids were built by aliens. Tell me the earth is flat and you'll end up as a conspiracy. No, the earth is not flat. I've told you that. We know the earth is round. The moon might be flat, but the earth is round. Sharon Moore says to give my old English teacher credit. He refused to teach Jane Austen. He said, I ain't teaching you that feminist BS. If you want to read it, I'll help, but I ain't putting the rest of you through misery. Very cool. Wesley says, bird of prey. Greetings, bird, turds, and alpacas. Greetings, Wes. Aaron Matthews says, hey, bird of prey, on all. Just got here from watching the Kowalski video on us. I hope nobody here gave money to that con artist and thief. Aaron, I gave money. Anas is not a con artist, and he's not a thief. And Kowalski can take a long walk off a short pier. Okay? If you opinion that Kowalski knew what he was talking about, you're fine. I disagree. Mr. Miles says most of us wouldn't be Europeans if not for Columbus. None of us would be here. The butterfly effect would have wiped every one of us out. Absolutely. Not one of us would exist today, including Mrs. Anti-Tracker. Mr. Miles says there would be other people, not us. John DeMarco says, oh God, I leave for a bit, and when I come back, we're debating slavery. We're not debating slavery. Slavery was bad. There's no question. It's not going to be debated. Aaron Matthews says, as for Columbus debate, not interested. Well, you choose that you don't want to exist. That is fine. Wesley says, bird of prey, why it's pick on Columbus Day? It's not pick on Columbus Day to me. It's celebrate Columbus. Hero of Caroga. Mr. Miles says, Aaron Matthew, I've seen his video and I find it interesting, but it didn't convince me of anything. Aaron says, I already had a sneaking suspicion, Mr. Miles. I think the examples of him ripping off dialogue from other people's IP is fairly damning. Did he rip off a blue tardigrade from anybody? Just curious. Mr. Miles says, Aaron, his idea that they couldn't be ripping him off because the release dates of both were so close and they didn't have time to rip him off. Again, I'm not sure that's true. Ms. Miles says the alternative to that is just that both happen to think the same idea around the same time. The odds of that is astronomical. It doesn't make sense. John DeMarco says, even if the guy stole stuff from other people, that has no bearing on whether or not CBS stole his stuff. Absolutely. Actress says, a lot of defense slavery coming in the stream. My sense is I have never once defended slavery. I'm never going to defend slavery. No part in this stream did I ever defend slavery. I don't know what you heard, but at no part did I defend slavery. I condemned slavery many, many times. Joseph, my last comment, 1:24 a.m., time to sleep. We'll listen, however. Qapla all, and thanks for the great stream. You're welcome, Joseph. Thank you for hanging out this long. I know it's very, very late for you. Aaron Matthews says 10 days isn't enough time. They would have had to script, build sets, film enough to make trailers in 10 days. Aaron Matthew, you are assuming Kowalski's numbers, Kowalski, whatever his name is, numbers are right. And that's a big assumption to make. Actor says, bye, Joseph. Anti-Trigger says, you missed the point, Bird. In 2019, had Columbus never discovered America, the world would be totally different. There's no way how to predict lifestyles would be. Absolutely. But I can predict pretty surely you would not exist. Mrs. Anti-Tracker would not exist. I would not exist. Mom O'Prey would not exist. Sassy would not exist. Anti would not exist. Sister O'Prey would not exist. Donald Trump would not exist. Hillary Clinton would not exist. Oh, maybe I was right. Maybe we're onto something. But nobody here would exist. So if you like existing, if you're not about to go jump out the window, then you are thankful on some level that things happened the way they did. Okay? That's just period. Done. If you like life, if you like being alive, if you like your life, if you love your children or your parents or your dog or your cat, none of that would have happened if things did not go exactly how they did. And one of those things was Columbus discovering, publicizing the New World. So that is the fact of the matter. Like I said, if it was 200 years ago and it was a slave family or slaves, would they have been happier if Columbus never came to America? Probably. I would say 99%, most of them would have been. Yes, absolutely. But in 2019, or even 1990, whatever, 1978 when I was born, happy Columbus discovered America. Very sad all the bad things happened, but there is no guarantee the bad things wouldn't have happened, and they wouldn't have happened worse. Okay? You can't blame one person for all the shit that went on afterwards. Actor says, bye, Joseph. Antitree says, you missed the point. I read that. You cannot say that they are better off. Better off than what? Better off than not existing. Or better off than existing in what current day, Zimbabwe or Kenya or Ethiopia or Sudan is like. Morocco. South Africa, without the parts that the British and the Chinese built. Mr. Miles says, Aaron Matthew, I haven't investigated it myself, but it's not uncommon for creators to post images and concepts before ever making it into the product. Aaron says, tardigrades were big in scientific journals lead up to both product. I saw tardigrades mentioned in another show recently too. Big tardigrades that could travel instantaneously through space and time? Just curious. Mr. Miles says, Aaron, I didn't know if he did. I'd have to go look up the type of stuff and seriously investigate it. Aaron says, makes sense, Mr. Miles. John DeMarco says, okay, tardigrades was big in scientific journals. Were giant blue space-time traveling tardigrades big in the journals? Exactly. Thomas is bird of prey, off to work I go, down with the next Karogan slave organization. Azine says, I don't think different colors makes any difference. Largest ship I made is 4.5 thousand kilograms and needs 55 impulse thrusters to break Earth orbit. I'd have to check. Aaron Matthews says, John DeMarco, you have watched the video Kowalski posted today. John DeMarco says, I saw it when Lord played it on his stream. And Turkey says, Bird makes Sinatra LGBTQ confirmed. Oh, because of rainbow. You see, rainbows, the LGBTQ community does not own the rainbow. The rainbow existed long before them. It will exist long after they have just assimilated into society and don't need a separate name or letter to identify themselves as. Instead of being LGBTQT, they'll just be Jim or Pam or Tom or whatever, Maria. That's just what they'll be one day. And then the rainbow will be back. Chase and Link, don't forget Packlets. Aaron Matthews says everyone should watch that video after Bird is done. Well, if Anti-Trekker is not streaming, but I saw enough of it during Laura's stream, I don't need to watch anymore. John DeMarco says, I believe in coincidences. Coincidences happen every day, but I don't trust coincidences. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, when you turn the engines, does the ship sing YMCA? And then you move around singing Waiting for the Boys. No, The ship does not sing YMCA. Jason Link, Packlid Lives Matter. Aaron says, good quote, John DeMarco, about coincidences. Kennewick says, my family benefited from Hitler. Without World War II, both sides, my grandparents, would not have been liberated as their homelands were occupied pre-World War II. Just saying. And again, another reason why I wouldn't have stopped World War II. Mr. Miles says, Aaron Matthew, the only thing that this video get me a bit angry about was the Anas thing. If that blonde character that looks like Stamets isn't the same one in the same sex relationship with the black guy, and they've been acting like it is, I think that's crappy. If that's true, I'd like to know. But it still doesn't change much. John DeMarco says, thank you. Garrett quotes are always good. Nicole says, and there was a whole group of nuts to replace him. Darth Raven says, Bird of Prey, my family would have been fine. Lol. Uncle Remus says, I don't know where Khan Singh is. Shouldn't have been ruling his kingdoms lately. Yeah, Khan. Aaron Matthews, Bird of Prey, Star Trek has shown us enough times how changing history is a crap idea. Exactly. Mr. Miles says, but as far as a scam, well, unless we're bringing whales to the future. Mr. Miles says, but as far as for being a scam, I don't think that's the case, mostly because he could have asked for money the first time he tried to sue them. He didn't, though. Scammers don't usually walk away. That's the thing. There is absolutely no freaking way it's a scam, and I take insult that anybody is calling Anas a scam or Nerdrotic a scam. That is bullshit. Okay? Anas has a claim against CBS. Is it a great claim? No. If it was a great claim, his first claim wouldn't have been thrown out the first time. But he has the best claim of anybody right now. He is our last best chance, hope, for a blow to CBS. And so I stand with Anas, figuratively, obviously. If I could literally stand, I probably wouldn't give a shit about Anas. I would just be out walking and driving and forget YouTube. And I'm sorry, you guys would all be great friends. I'd check in from time to time. But I wouldn't care about Star Trek until it becomes great again. But since I can't stand and I'm here sitting in my hospital bed, I care. I care more about Anas. 37. Wow. It's good for a Monday. It's good for any day, to be honest. Welcome, everybody. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, even though YouTube is probably going to erase your like. Mr. Miles says, scam. Mr. Miles says, a chance to cheat people. It's not a chance to cheat people. Wesley says, the oldest. That is the oddest chat Bird has done, but it's interesting. Jason Link, I just got done smoking a joint. Then 9/11 came on TV. Thought it was a bad trip. Wow. Okay, in one possible history, a dude named Ray discovered America who believed in equality, so the New World was founded as a pure egalitarian society, and racism never became a plague in our country. Okay, anti-trekker. Nonsense, because Columbus didn't believe. Columbus was not the reason there were slaves. Columbus had zero to do with the African slave trade or the slaves that came to the United States or the colonies before the United States. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. The slaves started becoming a thing in the late 1600s, okay, and the 1700s, and then the first half of the 1800s. That was the frickin' horrible age of slavery. Christopher Columbus was dust already by the time the African slave trade started. Columbus's personal opinions and ideals made diddly squat, right? Columbus sailed under the banner of Spain. It was the people sailing under the English who were doing the slave trade, mostly. Nothing to do with Columbus. Nothing at all. Whoever found America first, whether it was a dude named Ray who came over and gave the Indians, Native Americans, welcome baskets with European desserts on them and just said, oh, could I take some of these seashells, and headed back to Europe and never came back again. If he sneezed on one of them accidentally while he was there, still would have killed 90% of the indigenous population of the New World. And then some other schmuck who didn't believe in fairness would have come over and exploited everybody and brought slavery, because greedy people tend to get what they want when nobody's there to stop them. And there was nobody in the New World there to stop them. And there was nobody in Africa able to stop them. So if it wasn't Columbus, it would have been, some other name. Like I said, Columbus didn't do this, had nothing to do with the slave trade. And if it wasn't Columbus that came over, whatever the name of whatever person, it would be different. Maybe the entire, maybe 20 years later we get the first colonies in the Americas instead of 20 years earlier or whatever. So maybe the whole American Revolution never happens. Maybe that all changes, but in all likelihood, there still would have been slavery. How is that not better? Well, Anti-Trekker, do you like existing? So if you like not existing, if you think it would be better if you didn't exist, then I guess I can't say it's better. I like existing, even in my current state, so I can definitively say that whatever had to happen for me to exist right here and right now, I like that better than any other possibility. Uncle Remus says if there was no 9/11, George Bush Jr. wouldn't have been reelected. Not sure about that. Kennewick, if Native Americans were just as brutal to each other as Europeans were to each other, just without guns and horses, just saying. Mr. Miles says, Anti-Trekker, you seem to understand that you don't know when the alternative would have been because we didn't go to see them. And the alternative could have been worse. There could have been widespread slavery throughout the entire United States, not just the southern United States. There was already slavery, not just in the United States, in the islands, the Caribbean, South America. There could have been 10 times worse. Yeah, this conversation has demonetization all over it. Probably has worse than that. Kennewick says, lol, so true. Mr. Miles says, we just don't know. It might have been better. It might have been worse. Well, it would have been different to the point that probably none of us would have existed. Anti-Trekker is lolling. That's not to say that somebody else, there wouldn't still be 7 billion people on the planet, but there would be 7 billion different people. Jason Link, Anti-Trekker lols. Jason Link says, man, I feel old. I was 25 when 9/11 happened. I was 21, I think. Kennewick says, demonetization, winter is coming. Resolute says, Anti-Trekker, civilizations like that would have been easily overthrown. John DeMarco says, you mess with time, it tends to mess back. That sounds like a quote from something. Jason Link says, time is the fire in which we burn. That is a quote from, I believe it was in Star Trek Generations, but I assume it was a quote before that. Mike Richards says, Jason Link, I was 44. Get off my lawn. Jason Link is lolling. Kennewick says Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun. Oh, the Tutankhamun. Mike Richards was 44. Uncle Remus says brain phrase. Tutankhamun is the king. Pharaoh. John DeMarco says the best pronunciation of King Tut's name I ever heard. Kennewick says, though technically it's probably more like Tutankhamun. Mrs. Anti-Trekker. Welcome, Mrs. Anti-Trekker. This has been Anti-Trekker's interpretation of some of my thoughts and feelings. The fact is, I don't know how my life would be had any ancestor been allowed to come here freely. Understood. Nobody knows what their life would be like. Would their ancestor have come, right? I don't know. I mean, anything could have happened. My ancestors, even though my ancestors didn't come to the New World until, for the most part, like 100 years ago. Said for the most part. Some of them were here way before Mom's side of the family. But half of Mom's side of the family and Dad's side of the family, it was my great-great-grandparents, great-grandparents that came. Right? My grandparents, for the most part, my grandparents were born here. Oh, all my grandparents were born here. But on my father's side, their parents were not. They were born in Italy. And on my mother's side, I don't know where they're. Half of them were born here.
Right.
And,
my mother's parents were born here.
Right.
And my father's parents.
Right. So there's a small sliver of DNA that runs back further into the U.S. history, although the most of it is more recent, post-Civil War. So. And I thank you, Mrs. Anti-Trekker, for coming on and explaining.
Didn't have slavery ever. That's where they settled.
Yes, where they settled, there was not slavery. Uncle Remus says, will Dator still be around in the new STD timeline 995 years in the future? Will Data's head get fatter in the future? That would be crazy if Data was still alive, but I wouldn't mind it. Chrono says, hey there, Mrs. Anti-Trekker. Darth Raven says, Mrs. Anti-Trekker, hey, how you doing? Guys, I gotta give a break. I'll be right back. Wrong one.
You got a date, skin's looking great, cause Claricil's ace. Face to face, face to face to face. See you at 8, skin's looking great, CJ's the place. Face to face.
Claricil gives you great-looking skin, even close up. Inside, it kills bacteria to dry the pimple.
Claricil's ace, face to face.
Outside, it soaks up all the excess oil.
Feeling first rate, cause skin's looking great, cause Claricil's ace.
Claricil, for skin that looks great, even close up.
Face to face, face to face to face to face to face.
Read about tennis tots, political posters, and the miniseries Shogun, all in the new issue of TV Guide magazine.
I'm Maud Adams. For natural flavor, I like Cot a lot, because Cot beverages are made with real honest-to-goodness fruit, like sweet, juicy oranges, tart lemons and limes, luscious strawberries and raspberries, and succulent grapes. 30 delicious flavors, including diet flavors, non-carbonated flavors, and the best fruit beer you've ever tasted. All natural, all great. Enjoy the good taste of Cot. Natural tastes better, so it's got to be good.
I've been on my feet 6 hours. You know how I feel? I feel like dancing. Sheer energy. It makes me feel like dancing. Sheer energy. It makes my legs feel that good. Sheer Energy pantyhose look terrific. And they stimulate, refresh, and massage my legs. So I really feel like dancing.
She feels like dancing.
Nothing beats a great pair of legs.
Wow. They don't make them like that anymore. Talking about flight attendants. Thank you guys. Sorry about that. I hope you enjoyed the commercials of yesteryear. Chrono says hi to Mrs. Anti-Trekker. Darth Raving Ants, Mrs. Anti-Tracker, how you doing? By the way, everybody, if Mrs. Anti-Tracker is still here, Mrs. Anti-Tracker, we all thank you very, very much for taking such good care of Anti-Tracker these past week and a half, and for the next weeks, whatever it will be. We thank you. We know Anti-Tracker thanks you, but we want to let you know that all of us also appreciate what you are doing.
Including me.
Including Mama Prey, who understands, because she's been going over 10 years now. Luckily, you will have a much shorter run at having to do it, but we all appreciate it. I want you to know that not a day goes by that me or Mama Prey, and I'm assuming others, don't think about the situation you and Anti-Tracker are in, and, whether it's prayers or just good thoughts, and that our hearts are with you guys, please know that they are. Because we understand, and I hate, even Anti-Tracker, I would never want anything like this to happen to. I hope he gets over it as soon as possible, not only for his sake, but for your sake, Mrs. Anti-Tracker. And I hope when this is all done, and Anti-Tracker becomes a big YouTube star, he saves up some money and is able to send you on a beautiful first-class vacation to England to meet Dr. Alex. Because that would only be fair. Kronos says hey to Mrs. Anti-Tracker. Mr. Miles says the earth can't be flat because it's hollow. Jason Link says howdy, Mrs. Anti-Tracker. Uncle Remus says, and it's made of cheese. No, the moon is made of cheese. Wesley says, who keeps saying the pyramids were built by aliens or non-slaves? Aliens here. Non-slaves over there. Nicole says, Mr. Miles, no, it's shaped like a donut. Oh my God. I want a donut now. Mr. Miles says, Nicole, madness. Cinnabon says, pyramids were built by the mighty alpacas. Yeah. Uncle Remus says, you choose poorly. Mrs. Anti-Tracker says, my younger sister's father came from Nigeria. I've never heard him complaining about any oppression. He enjoys visiting regularly. I'm not going to hate. That's not my gig. Well, and that's very, very cool that he doesn't complain. If he has a good life in Nigeria, more power to him. Honestly, it's the first person I can say I've heard of that had that. So very cool. Nicole says, thank you for noticing. Mike Richards says, we know how the earth is banana-shaped. Cinnabon says, alpacas created America. Darth Raven says, bird of prey is pronounced Raudotic Okana, king of Connacht. If there wasn't a United States, Germany wins World War II. Germans had already invaded Africa. God knows how far they would have gotten, or what they would have done. Just possibility. We don't know. It's complete speculation. But who knows? Who knows? Mr. Miles says, Nicole, it's shaped like a donut, and how can dinosaurs live in the center of the earth? Nicole. Multi-Gunman says, it's Columbus Day in the USA, Thanksgiving Day in Canada. I thought Thanksgiving Day was yesterday in Canada, or Thursday. Cinnabon says, bunnies make it great, very cool. Nicole says, it's the middle. The middle is the portal to the Middle Earth. Mrs. Anti-Trigger says, hey, Kronos and Darth Raven. Darth Raven says, bird of prey, I would exist. Lol. You don't know that, Darth. Without the United States, maybe England, Great Britain raises Ireland and erases it. and just, kills all your ancestors. You don't know that, Dar. Mr. Miles says, Mrs. Antitrigger, welcome. Multi-gun says, it's confirmed her slavery. No. Jason says, that's because Canada always finishes too early. Lol. Nicole says, hope you know that I'm joking. I assume everything said on here is a joke. Multi-gun says, we're faster because we're better. Darth Raven says, bird of prey, I would exist Irish. Uncle Rima says, Marty McFly wouldn't exist. Damn it, Marty. Multi-gun says, existing would not exist. Would Star Trek exist? Right? Without Christopher Columbus, would Star Trek exist? I say no. So, I'm sorry. If you like Star Trek, you have to like Christopher Columbus. That's the end of that. Science. Multi-gun says, yeah, existing would not exist. Jason says, it's a joke. It's not a dick. Don't take it so hard, man. Aaron Matthews is bird of prey. I personally like Columbus. I don't subscribe to the bullshit rewriting of history. I like how Dinesh Danant's American Imagine the World Without Her movie. If you haven't watched it, do it. Dinesh Dozar's America Imagine the World Without Her movie. I've never heard of it. I will try to take a look. But again, I will repeat, the Knowing Better YouTuber called Knowing Better Christopher Columbus video is a treasure trove of information on how Christopher Columbus has been unfairly targeted, shamed, and just plain lied about in modern culture. And the trigger says, I will vouch for Byrd did not defend slavery. He just says we are better off today because of slavery, therefore slavery is good. No, I did not say slavery is good. I said I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change history, because if I did, I wouldn't exist and you wouldn't exist and Sassy wouldn't exist. And I'm selfish like that. I'm selfish in that I want to exist. And unless somebody could prove to me definitively that stopping Columbus would have made a more happy, a more just planet where there was a lot less war and famine and technology had improved and you know, it's like more like the United Federation of Planets, Earth, than Earth of what we have today, I wouldn't do it. But if somehow aliens could show me definitive proof, or God, whatever, some being with more power than we could ever imagine could show me proof that if I pushed a button and prevented Christopher Columbus from landing in the United States, from landing in actually Dominica or wherever, Hispaniola, if I could press a button and sunk his ship, and then I could see definitive proof that if I did that, the world today would be so much better, and there would be a lot less war and a lot less hatred, and far more, you know, maybe the same population or whatever, and just a better world.
No racism.
Right, no racism, no hatred, you know, no religious wars, things like that. Then I'd consider pushing the button. But without any definitive proof that erasing Christopher Columbus would definitively make the world better, then I would never do it. I would never do it. I would never stop World War II. I'd never stop World War I. I'd never stop Pearl Harbor. I'd never stop the frickin' War of 1812. I wouldn't stop any of that stuff because every one of those things is vital to what happened. We gotta end soon. Multi-Gun Man says that Columbus discovered what the Vikings did 500 years earlier. Yeah, Multi-Gun Man, I'm not saying Columbus was the first to discover America. Columbus was the first to publicize the discovery of America, and that's why he gets the credit. Epic Beard says, hey, nerds and alpacas and nerd alpacas and birds and turds. Welcome, Epic. Jason says, Mama Prey needs to up Bird's meds and clip his wings. Jason says, just kidding, Bird. Love you, bud. Thank you, Jason. Anti-Trigger says, so moving goalposts, now that Bird's argument is simple existence, I'm simply arguing the world would be a much better place without Columbus. Would it be? How do you know? You have zero evidence of that. Zero evidence. In all likelihood, some other schmo would have come over a year, 2, 3 years later, and history would have happened very similar to the way it did. The exact people might have been different. Instead of George Washington, we might have had, Bob Smith. Who knows? But there's still, the Native Americans being killed off was a ticking time bomb. They were all going to die the moment some European met some Native American and there was any type of meaningful exchange. Europeans weren't going to stay in Europe forever, and the Native Americans weren't going to stay in America forever. Unless aliens came and built an impenetrable wall between them, one day the two sides were going to meet, and whether they met and it was all love and we come in peace, or it was, hey, we got guns, surrender or die, either way, they were going to all get sick from European diseases, and it was going to do more than decimate. It was going to annihilate their population. 90% of them were going to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That was just the way it was going to happen. It's sad, but nature, I've said it before, nature is not nice. Nature is not nice. We keep thinking, oh, Mother Nature. Mother Nature isn't nice. Mother Nature is heartless. Mother Nature is cold. Mother Nature will do whatever the F Mother Nature wants to do. And if that means killing off 90% of the population, if that means the dinosaurs go extinct, if that means the atmosphere gets full of soot and everybody starts crying and then they freeze to death and die, that's what's going to happen. And the Native Americans getting sick from European diseases was really an act of Mother Nature. It was just something that was bound to happen. Unless Europeans stayed in Europe for hundreds of years to the point that they developed vaccine technology, and then they came over to the New World wearing hazmat suits and then forcibly vaccinated the natives, they were all going to die as soon as European and natives mixed. It's just inevitable. Resolute, this is not a defense of slavery, it's a defense of temporal integrity. It's also a defense of Christopher Columbus. Anti-Trigger says exactly Resolute. Wesley says Anti-Trigger, I doubt that. Multi-Gunman says, how about a separate planet for them? Who's them? I'm sorry. Epic Beard, I missed it. Bird is ranting about another day in Karoga. Excuse me. Wesley says, Anti-Trigger, maybe God allowed the evil in early America so we would learn from it. Jason says, see, we really do need people like Daniels. Anti-Trigger says, it's pointless argument. Is it better for a person who is in constant pain and dies alone? Perhaps that person's existence is not a valid argument. Well, if that person chooses to exist in their state, then they have a valid argument. Mr. Londell says, Anti-Trigger, I seriously doubt the world would be better without Columbus. I don't see a world that produces the technological age what we have now without Columbus. Honestly, I do, because Columbus was an inevitability. Somebody would have been the one who get credited for the New World. And, British and Spanish and Portuguese, they would have all come and get the colonies. Now, had it been 100 years later, Would it have been different world powers coming to claim their colonies? Maybe. Had it been 100 years later, maybe the Asians would have got here, maybe the Chinese or the Japanese or both would have gotten here to California first, and they would have spread diseases to the natives. All possibilities. But I think that in all likelihood, a European would have gotten here first, before the Asians. Yes, it's a smaller ocean.
Is the man in the high castle coming back?
I think there's one more season of Man in the High Castle.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for your conversation.
Oh.
Okay.
Wesley says, Bird of Prey, it's the USA is the first country to stand on the ideals of personal. Is the USA the first country to stand on the ideals of personal freedom? It's the first real country to stand on the ideals of personal freedom. The Europeans learned something from American democracy. Americans learned a lot from Europe, but Europeans then learned back from America. Jason Link says, if a bear poops in the woods and no one's around, does it stink? Yes. Darth says, anti-tracker alternative history. This could make a fun stream. Well, not to YouTube. Anti-tracker says, Mr. Londell, why? Wesley says, yes, it took many years of civil war and longer move in Jim Crow, but we made it here. You know, it was really shitty thing was we probably would have been better off as a nation had Lincoln not been assassinated. But would I stop Lincoln's assassination? That's a good question. I think I would. I think definitively what we know of what one happened after, I think if I could have stopped Lincoln's assassination, I would still do that. And yeah, it would play hell on history. I would chance it. Daniel's Hot Topics is Bird of Prey. It's been a crap day. I lost my debit card. Now, how can I buy things that people could found and maybe buying things with my money? Well, hopefully you called your bank, Daniel's Hot Topics, and canceled the card so that nobody's buying anything with your money. And the trigger, I'm going to watch the Kowalski video before my stream. Very cool. Wesley says, I'm with Londell's thinking. Multi Gunman, I agree too. Darth Rooms is Bird of Prey. So it sings waiting for the boys, and you never said it don't. So it sings waiting for the boys, you never said it don't. I don't know what we're talking about, Darth. Resolute says, Anti-Trigger, you gotta admit, a very favorable timeline. Things could and probably should be a lot worse. Aaron Matthews says, a blow to the company that makes Star Trek. What would you want? Disney to take over? No. Daniel's Hot Topics is Anti-Trigger. I got news of the Crisis on Infinite Earth crossover. Jason says, Anti-Trigger, it's an ode to making up excuses and not stand up to CBS and not punch up or hold their feet to the fire regardless of lore saying otherwise, just my opinion. John DeMarco says, we want Star Trek to be good and CBS ain't getting that done. True, but Disney wouldn't either. Multi-Gunman says, excellent point, Bird. Thank you. I don't know for what. Resolute says, I disagree. The world is a cesspool of hate. Sure, we have tech and stuff, but hate is not good. We could have a much better world. Yes, it could be worse, but it's a coin toss. So you would hold the fate of the world in a coin toss instead of going with the tried and true history that at least we didn't blow ourselves up in the Cold War. Now, we might still blow ourselves up. It's possible. But damn, it seems like that was like a 1 in 100 chance of navigating that Cold War to get us to where we were now. Jason says, Kirk, I need my anger. I need my hate. Absolutely. Mr. Miles is anti-trigger. I'm not sure about that. Most people aren't full of hate. The ones that are extra loud in my world. That's true, too. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of love out there. Right now, we're all beaming. Beaming with love. How far back am I? Oh, jeez. 8:22. Okay. Yeah, good thing I ate dinner before we started. Mr. Miles is the ones that are. Uncle Remus says, and I need of my pain. Yes, we all need our pain. Jason Link, close enough. Resolute says, yes, anti-trigger, but most likely timelines are much worse. Aaron Matthew, Bird of Prey, going to stop commenting and just listen to the discussion. Very cool. Thank you, Aaron. Anti-trigger, based on what Resolute is there exactly zero evidence that there are more better or worse alternatives. There is an infinite amount of possibilities, therefore you can only guess. Resolute, let's be honest, anti-trigger, the human race should have killed itself a dozen times over by now. Yep. Anti-trigger says, I'm not suggesting the world would automatically be better without Columbus. Only that birds claim that we'd be better off because of him. We're better off because we exist. Epic says, how do we know that we're not all mind slaves in a matrix? Are you really here? Are you really anywhere? Good point. And the bird existence argument is also facetious. There are billions of versions of history in which you exist. Prove that. I don't believe that, anti-tracker. Billions of versions of history in which that doesn't even make sense. I mean, are you talking like a multiverse theory? Multi-gun man says first. Sure, multi-gun man. Resolute says, but we are more likely to be better off than without. Jason says, every decision made creates a multitude of possible timelines on top of the innumerable amount that already exists. Again, that's multiverse theory, and it's a theory that I personally do not subscribe to. Yeah, Mamo probably wants to be in the one that I walk. But you see, literally any possibility happens in multiverse theory. That means there's one where I walk, there's one where I'm a bank robber, there's one where I'm a serial killer, there's one where I'm a priest, there's one where I'm a billionaire, there's one where I'm a millionaire.
I like that one too.
There's one where I invent the first rocket, the first backpack rocket. There's one where I become a diamond mogul. I mean, literally everything that's possible that could be thought about, it happens. There's one where I become an evil dictator of Kuroga. It's possible. And the trigger says, Resolute, as a baseless statement, you don't know, period. Ms. Lundell says, okay, time for some real talk, people, regardless of how you feel or how you think about Columbus. It doesn't matter. It really ain't worth a hill of beans. You are all here now, indeed. Mr. Miles is anti-trigger. I think he's just trying to say it's best for us because we resulted from it. Nicole says, got a thing for time travel and fanfic, but there's hardly to relay it here in the chat. Short version. Some points can be changed and others not allowed to be changed. Mr. Miles says, I wouldn't say there's anything special about most of us, though. Well, I'm special. My mom told me.
Yeah.
Epic Beard says, Mama Prey says, you're all special. Every one of you. Epic Beard says, yep, infinite timelines exist. Impossible to guess outcomes. Wesley says, oh my goodness, guys, the God only knows question. Ms. Lundell says, so deal with it. Resolute says, so just as baseless as your contrary stance, anti-trigger. Jason says, who are we to decide which timeline is best? Best Trek line ever, almost. Daniel's Topics says, anti-trigger, this is something I'd like to discuss on your show, anti-trigger. If history happened differently, we would not exist. It would be how would happy history unfolded the way it did, or would not be. Resolute says it's all about odds. Multigunman says, Mr. Lundell, your argument doesn't fit the America bad, white man bad narrative that libtards are pushing now. YouTube, those are his words, not mine. Wesley says only an all-knowing would know what would be best outcome of history and alternative timelines. Jason Link says, careful now, Q might take you up on that. Epic Beard says, I don't remember Cot. Anti-Trigger is very true. Only an omniscient being could know. Crow says, wow, Shogun, blast from the past. Uncle Remit, who wants a cot? Jason Link, oh, the wormhole aliens. Nicole says, well, if there's a main timeline, then deviations can be monitored. Multigamut says, I don't know about you, but I miss sheer pantyhose. Oh, yeah. They vitalize. Jason Link says, Hans Daniels. Epic Beard says, Bird needs new hosiery so he can dance. Anti-Trigger says, Will, I need to run and get upstairs to stream. It was a fun conversation. Talk to y'all later. Jason Link says, take care, Anti-Trigger. Uncle Remus claps for Mrs. Anti-Trigger. Kronos says, Mrs. Anti-Trigger bows. Nicole says, all my hopes, Anti-Trigger. Mr. Lodell says, to Multi-Gunman, that's because I'm not a frickin' liberal. I've seen some of the world, and I can say with certainty I'd rather live in the U.S. than any other country. America! Jason Link says, big ups to Mrs. Anti-Trigger and Mama Prey. Indeed, the true heroes of Piroga and Turkestan. Resolute says, stay healthy, Anti-Trigger, don't push yourself too much. Mrs. Anti-Trigger says, hey, I hope you guys know how much I appreciate all of you and your support. I'm glad I can pop in and chat here and there. Thank you so much, Mrs. Anti-Trigger. Nicole, love to Mrs. AT. Jason says 20 minutes behind. Yeah, 20 more, 25 now. Thomas is back. Multi-Gunman says, Miss Lodell, I agree. Resolute says, you're great, Mrs. Anti-Trigger. Okay, I am so sorry, guys, but 8:07, this is where I'm going to have to start skipping comments. So if you used app BirdoPrey5, I will definitely read your comments. Otherwise, it's going to be hit and miss. Wesley says, Anti-Trigger, are you doing a live stream soon? Well, if he's already on his way upstairs, I guess soon, though. He said he's going to watch the Keltwoski video. I think that's a fairly lengthy video, like 30 minutes. I'm not sure. I didn't watch it, but it didn't seem like a short video. Kennewick says the Catholic Church was awful. The natives, slaves in the silver mine, 1,000,000 times more than Columbus. Uncle Remus, nature finds a way. Kronos is bird of prey. This is Columbus Day. Can't wait till Christmas. Well, Santa Claus might be back for Christmas again this year. Epic Beard South Park says, blame Canada. Maybe who'd they know? What if we deleted Canada, whom northern U.S. states get all maple syrup profits? Jason says they only have 10% as many people as us. Yeah, we should invade Canada. But, you know, we won't because of people like the Multi-Gunman and Rambling Canuck. It's also cold. Mama Prey doesn't want to move anywhere cold. Jason says only if we get their healthcare system too. Well, their healthcare system leaves a lot to be desired. However, their drug prices, that's worth something. Nicole says no, Colombo. Maybe the U.S. becomes the U.S. makes Civil War look like a picnic, and Canada is part of the U.S. They have gold. Uncle Remus, take care, bird of prey. Bye all. Take care, Uncle Remus. Jason says you'd be the first Canadian out of several to say that to me. Kronos is bird of prey. Are you sure Mama Prey doesn't have a tail today? Yes. Daniel's Hot Topic says bird of prey, thanks to the multiverse, all those possibilities happened in parallel realities. I can't believe that that's true. The problem with the multiverse is then why should anybody be a good person? Because in an infinite number of parallel universes, they're not a good person. In fact, they have to be a bad person in, at least as many universes as they are a good person. So that just can't possibly be. Because the vast majority of people are good people. And if it wasn't, or it would just be total chaos. We wouldn't be able to have government. We wouldn't be able to have any type of law and order, even if it's shitty law and order. Right? We wouldn't be able to get anything done.
Are we getting anything done now?
Yeah, we are, you know. Not well, but something. Miss Lindell's Bird of Prey. Pager, you did a video on what the U.S. would have been like had Lincoln not been assassinated. Well, I mean, I'm sure they did a version of it. I don't know if I'd agree with it, but I'll take a look when I get a chance. If they still have a YouTube channel. Daniel's Hot Topics says, Bird of Prey, scientists have proved the multiverse exists. That is not true, Daniel. There's no way they could have proved the multiverse exists. Jason Link says, Captain Bird of the IKS Sassy. Where are we? Jason Link says, thank you, Mambo Prey. Epic says, Bird is a special kind of evil, so I agree. Special. Kronos says, Bird of Prey, you're skipping comments. Never. I gotta do it. I'm sorry. Vile Mike, howdy, folks. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Welcome, Vile. Everybody should check out Vile's channel. Yesterday he premiered a video. It's on his channel now. Him and the Vile Child review what our little girls made of. The Star Trek, the original series episode. It was a good review. It's a good video, like all of his TOS reviews. Multi-Gunman says, Bird isn't skipping comments. He's just starting his banning process. No, nobody's getting banned. Kronos says, I can't even type Indigenous Peoples Day. Oh, wait, I just did. Hi, Vile. Jason Link says, Bird of Prey, just because not as many are... Just because in just as many as not, they still are mind-blown poof. I'm thinking he's talking about the multiverse. Because in just as many as not, they still are. Thomas says there's a hippie Bird of Prey in a parallel universe, makes flower ships and space engineers. That would be true if multi-universe theory was correct. Vile says, Bird, I assume there's really has to be an infinite amount of universes in the multiverse. You assume there really has to be an infinite. Well, the multiverse theory as it was presented is that for every possible action, every possible outcome happens. Which means that even if an outcome is 99% more likely to happen, both outcomes happen. And you could say, well, the 99% outcome happens 999%, 99% of the time. So there's only 1% of outcomes where the bad thing happens, but that still means the bad thing actually happened. And the bad thing happens over and over and over again, because then for every single, possible choice to be made after that bad thing, there's an infinite number of combinations after that. Thomas's Bird, I can't think of a single holiday the left doesn't hate. Martin Luther King Day. Jason Links is Bird of Prey, CBS copyright struck anti-Trekkers Kirk versus STD video. Yeah, I heard that yesterday. Very sad. Chris M. Collecting says, time to get the indigenous people out of the casinos and get the mafia back. Kronos says, that's really deep. Things got really deep tonight. Thanks for the headache, Bird of Prey. You're welcome. Vile says, there's more than one multiverse theory, and the one you're talking about is the dumbed down Hollywood science fiction one of them. I've read a lot of books on quantum physics and things like multiverse theory and the physics of time, all this types of stuff. I try to keep up on these things. I've yet to see a multiverse theory that makes any amount of sense to me. And they all feel wrong to me, personally. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I just don't believe. And they have certainly not proven it. Resolute says, watch Farscape. Their take on time travel is better than any I've seen. I wish I had time, but I don't know when I'll have time. Multi-Man's a Bird of Prey, done the math on multiverse thing, and in every scenario, Kurogan conquers the universe. Very cool. Jason Link, Bird of Prey, and with that, have a good night, bud. Awesome stream as always. Good night, Alpaca, Bird of Prey, Mama Prey, Sassio Prey, and everyone else. Good night, Jason Link, and I think that is going to call it a night for us tonight. Qapla all, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you guys for discussing, what we talked about without personal insults. It was, I think, I know what I said might have been shocking to some people, but I'm glad everybody, if you disliked it, you disliked it, but Mama Prey still can't like the video, but, we handled it like adults. I think it went well, and I thank you all, and please, if you are new here, if you've never checked out the channel before, please subscribe. I know everybody's been telling you this, but it's true. YouTube is unsubscribing people from channels. I don't know why they're doing it. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but it's happening. People are telling me it's happening. They all can't be mistakenly unsubscribing. I thought at first, they just hit unsubscribe by accident. They didn't know. It can't be. There's too many people for it to be accidental. So please do subscribe. If you think you've subscribed, double check you're subscribed. And do not do that for me. Do it for every YouTube channel you care about. Because it's crazy. I don't know what's going on out there. Thomas's 1 isn't a prime number. Damn you, Thomas. Multigum says Bird speaks the truth. Resolute, good night. Qapla, God bless Kuroga. Thank you, Resolute. And Kronos says Qapla, Bird. Mamo Prey, Minions O Prey, and Sassio Prey. Indeed. Qapla all. Epic Beard says down with Kuroga. No. Please donate to the Epic Nation. Save the alpacas. Later, nerds. Qapla all. Good night. Thank you all for watching my video. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell icon. Without it, you won't get notifications of new videos. Check out BirdoPrey5.com, the new home of everything BirdoPrey5 on the web. You can also check out my forum at juot.net. I'm also on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Gab. If you'd like to make a donation, check out paypal.me/BirdoPrey5 or on BirdoPrey5.com. Take care.